Okay. Fun times. Oh shit, I forgot to get music up. God damn it.
Are you feeling heart?
That's awkward. Okay, hopefully that's not too loud. Is that too loud? I cannot tell. Okay, there we go. Not that. Here we go. That's slightly better. No, I don't care. Can you even see that on my stream? I just realized I don't know if you can read that at all. Is that better? Set some up. Okay. Oh shit, okay. There we go. Alright, let's actually. Who needs friends? What was I doing? Sterling. Hi, Sterling. Super National Redneck Officiating Day. I. Is that a real thing? What's. Are you officially a redneck, Sterling? I'd believe it. Rex is referring to T-Rex. No, my name. I feel like we've talked about this. My name comes from Star Wars. You definitely know this by now. Captain Rex. Have you watched Star Wars? Maybe you haven't watched Star Wars. I feel like you have, but I could be wrong. Sheesh. Okay. Um. was bright. I see why. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I think we've got everything now that I need to. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Fuck me. I am struggling. Ah. There we go. I think we got it now. I think I got everything now. Okay. Okay, yeah. I got everything up now. I hope. I feel like I'm like stupid when it comes to setting things up because I always start doing it when I'm already streaming and not before I start streaming. But, you know, that's how it goes. Also, I can't tell if you can read this on stream or not. Oh my god. Okay, you can like sort of kind of, oops, shit. But you can like sort of kind of see that. It's good enough. I think enough for me to like go over a story. So there was 3 stories I wanted to cover. One was the... Ooh. Did my audio go out? Oh no. Okay, we're good. Okay. I started streaming. I like panic when I don't have anyone else on the call because I feel like I can't tell if like people can hear me or not. Anyway, story 1 will be the guy who drowned in the lake when the officers went to save him. Also, I didn't know what else to title this segment other than like police brutality. But it's not technically police brutality. It's like, you'll see when we go over the stories. Anyway, there was this one, and then there was the guy who jumped into the river. I don't know why so many people decided to drown this week. That sounds really bad. I just mean like, it feels like there was a lot of people that drowned this week in police situations. I don't know if anyone has seen these stories already, but if you haven't, then I will be going over the story and then kind of giving my analysis of like the reactions to it and how the police could have acted better and how they probably acted okay in some regards. Yeah. And the last one will be going over like the Supreme Court stuff. Hopefully. I was supposed to get to that to the last stream and I didn't, so I'll try to get to that today. And again, I feel like everyone really passed over this like Supreme Court decision because everyone's like so preoccupied with everything else going on right now that this really got like glossed over. I don't see anyone talking about it like except for like I saw like one Twitter thread from like a guy named Sean King who he's an idiot, so it makes sense that like no one paid attention to it. But he like grossly misstated the case. And then I went and looked into the case and I realized I'm like, this is actually something that should be talked about, but not in the way that he talked about it. So I was like, maybe I'll give my own analysis of what's going on here. Yeah, it's like the outline for today. Hopefully, I can't tell if anyone's in here yet. I'm trying to like see if anyone's chilling, hanging out before I start going over analysis stuff. Let's see. Oh, shit. Okay, there's people. Okay, we're cool. Really reformed plush. Oh, hi. Welcome. So do you not hate all police officers or not? Oh, no. God, no. I'm not that type. No. I don't really believe in judging large groups of people by one characteristic. I usually think that's not a good thing. The problem with law enforcement is the problem of general application. If you don't use it, you lose it. But if you really experience it, then what? Or what then? Most police interactions don't become violent or life-threatening. Well, it's kind of the thing. I think like everyone... I feel like right now the hype around getting on police officers is really, really high. And so even situations like this that didn't seem that bad, people went really, really hardcore after them because it was like police and like somebody died. Even though I don't know if the police acted in any way that was like so irresponsible that they could be like held responsible for these people's deaths, which is why I kind of wanted to cover them, because I think like a lot of times there's like police brutality cases that are really like cut and clear that were like, okay, yeah, the police acted out in like really poor ways here, but in this situation like people still went after the police really hard, even though I don't necessarily think there's anything that was like that necessarily. So okay, I'll go over this one first because I think this one's a little bit more clear cut about what I'm saying. So this guy, after getting tasered 3 times, still managed to run away from the cops and jump off a bridge into a river where he unfortunately died. But people went after the cops really hard because, I'm going to zoom this out. Oops, shit. Zoom out a little bit. So, oh fuck, why is it doing that? Okay. Anyway, so the guy was like walking around waving a screwdriver, and so cops got called on him for obvious reasons. He's walking down the street with like a screwdriver, acting kind of erratically, so I think somebody called the cops on him. Anyway, so then the police showed up and they were trying to like get him to calm down, and they eventually ended up tasering him 3 times, I believe. And the guy still kept getting up and like, I think after the second taser, the guy, it looked like in the video from what I watched, and I don't think I want to play it on stream just because I feel like it's a little weird to play it on stream. But the guy like basically got tasered twice, and on the second time he went down to the ground. And I believe he dropped the screwdriver, but I don't know if the cops in that moment knew that or not. Because even in the video, it was hard to tell if he had dropped the screwdriver. He got back up after the second taser, and he got tasered a 3rd time. He went down and then was able to get back up again. And he started to run away, and the police chased after him, and he then jumped off a bridge. Now, my kind of issue with this story was that people took it in a way of like, oh, the police were irresponsible, they should have stopped him, they should have subdued him, they should have kept him on the ground, like, it's their fault that he died. But I'm like, I would be like hesitant to make the judgment that that this was on the police, and I felt like really weird about people getting like super harped on this online. Maybe I should pull up the Twitter threads on it, because like people were like super going after the cops in the situation of saying like, oh, like they didn't do enough and they should have subdued him. And I'm like, people were really angry at police for a while of like actually involving themselves over like too much in a situation and being too hands-on and being too physical. Because like if the police had tackled him and like he like, you know, got his head bashed on the ground or something, and like something else had happened and he hadn't jumped into the river, I feel like no matter what the cops do at this point, people are going to be mad if like a person gets hurt. Like unless you do like a arrest completely 100% safe and like the person never gets hurt, people are going to get mad no matter what. And I think that's like kind of the issue that I'm starting to see with like every police case that comes out where somebody gets harmed or injured or hurt. It's like no matter what the police do, they're in the wrong. And I think that's like, fuck, that's what it's like, it feels like it's coming down to it. I think like people aren't like critically analyzing these situations anymore, and it's kind of like upsetting, because I'm like, this is actually a big issue that needs to be addressed. Like police brutality is obviously something that's like it's overly prevalent in our system. There's probably situations where we could have better training to like handle these situations better. However, now it feels like every situation that we analyze, it's like, oh, this is the police fault, or like the police need to act better. But it's like in this situation, like they went through like less deadly, like non-lethal force with the tasers, and they deployed it 3 times to try to subdue the guy, and he was still managing to get back up after being tasered 3 times. Um, let's see. The guy had something in his hand, looked like a screwdriver. The police were telling him to put it down. He dropped it. Next thing I know, he jumps in the river. So from I don't want to. You guys can look up the video, because there's a whole video of the guy who's like sitting next to the cops, like trying to subdue the guy, and then you can see him jump. If you want to watch the whole video, you can go look it up. After the tragic event in Uvalde, even pro-police people are like, "Sai, I can't really help you out with this one. I'm sure there are some that can still defend the police, but that's quite the stretch they need to make." Yeah, I wouldn't, like, here's the thing. You can't defend an institution as a whole, because I think, like, the police and institution probably needs some pretty dramatic reform. But I would criticize individual cops. So, like, in the mass shooting down in Texas, I would 100% criticize the cops in that situation. Like, you waited outside for, like, an hour. You didn't, like, do anything to, help, like, parents were trying to run in after their kids, and, like, you were arresting them before you ever went in for the shooter. Like, you got a lot of people killed. Like, they hardcore messed up in that situation. But to, like, apply, I guess, that situation to, like, a much larger setting, I think is, like, a little bit, yeah. But, like, even pro-police people are now starting to, like, dip out, because it seems like, I think a lot of people are having, like, issues now, like, they're starting to see, like, the issues, like, within the policing system and how we, like, train police and how we set police up to work, which I'm completely, obviously, on board with the idea of, like, reforming, like, our police protocols and, like, how we assess situations, who we send in, all these type of things. They need to be looked at. But then when I see stories like this, it makes it really hard, because it's like, when you take every single police interaction story and put this on, like, a super, like, a really negative spin on all of it, I think that's, like, you get into, like, dangerous situations where you can't, like, again, it's, like, that lack of, like, critical analysis of, like, when are the police actually acting bad, and when are there situations that just probably couldn't have gone better in any scenario. Law enforcement is different per area. I live in a small town. The police here are patient and nice. I have been to Philadelphia. The police there are horrendously mean for no reason. Yeah. And not that I ever agree with being horrendously mean for no reason, especially with, like, citizens who haven't done anything wrong. But I think what's one thing to, like, just note is that, like, if you're in a more dense city, like, cities always have more crime. So if you're a police officer in, like, a high populated city with, like, more crime and you see a lot more shit, you're going to be, like, a little bit more on edge at all times, right? Because you're, like, so used to having bad interactions that, like, even good interactions can go negatively, because you're just so, like, ready to, like, you're so ready to flip on people. And I think that's, like, where I don't know how you would, and, like, my thing is, like, when it comes to, like, again, I want to, like, that's, like, my future career goals and stuff, is a lot of, like, the police reform and, like, getting, like, better policies implemented. But my thing is, like, I don't know how you would fix situations like that, because, like, when you're in a small town and you know everybody and there's not that high of a crime rate, it's really easy to be a really good cop, because you trust the people around you, you don't interact with that many, like, people who are insane, you don't interact with people who are, like, you know, in the worst of the worst situations, just because there's less people, and small towns typically have less crime because you have, like, less poverty, because small towns just don't, like, have the same issues that big cities do. So then, like, when you have police in big cities, you're more likely to run into more problems on the citizen side and on the policing side. But, like, I don't know if anyone, there's not that many people in chat right now, but, like, how do you guys, like, how would we ever account to, like, make it that even police in, like, big cities don't have that like, that negative reaction towards people? Because I think that's, like, one place where I'm, like, really struggling to figure out, like, how you would ever, like, fix that kind of policy, or, like, in a policy way. Like, do you just have to give, like, these people, like, therapy constantly and make sure that they're not, like, acting out towards every citizen because of a few bad actions? Multifaceted issues are lots of fun. There's no easy explanation for it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, this isn't like a simple take, and that's, like, the thing is, like, fixing it would be really, really hard, because, like you said, like, Philadelphia police are probably going to be a lot more intense with everyone they interact with, because it's just, their job is going to call for a lot more aggression towards them, and a lot more dangerous and negative situations. And so, like, when you're constantly dealing with that, like, maybe on a daily to weekly basis, like, you have that much, like, negativity from the community that you're working in, you're probably going to be more likely to also put that negativity back out. And again, this isn't something like, I don't agree with this, right? Like, you should never, like, as a police officer, like, be in a position where you're, like, being negative because you have negativity towards you, and that's, like, not a way to deal with it. But I think, like, we forget cops are also human to some extent, and they are going to have, like, you know, if you have, like, a bunch of negative people around you and you've had a lot of negative experiences, that's going to come back out from you. And I think that's, like, the same thing that we see with cops. So it's, like, how do we address that side of that issue? And that was, this story that I read, like, kind of, it triggered, like, the fuck out of me, because I think the way people addressed the story was saying, like, the cops should have done more, they should have tackled him, they should have made sure he didn't, like, jump and stuff like that. It's, like, I don't think first of all, from the video, the cops didn't know this guy was going to jump. They thought he was just trying to run away, so he went after him, and then when they realized he was going to jump, like, the guy was jumping barricades trying to grab him, but he just, like, he yeeted, and it's, like, do you want him to, like, jump in after him and try to save him? Like, they'll probably both end up dead. Would you rather them do, like, a full takedown and take him to the ground and possibly, like, injure him? But then you probably still would have been mad that he got injured. Because the thing is, like, without knowing the other alternative, if they had done a takedown and, like, got him onto the ground and, like, you know, physically injured him to some extent, well, your brain wouldn't automatically assume that the alternative is, like, oh, the guy would have jumped off the bridge, so I'm glad they took him down. It's like, you're like, oh, no, that's an excessive use of force. Right? So in any other situation, you would call it an excessive use of force. But in this case, because you saw the alternative outcome, you want them to use excessive force because the alternative outcome is worse. But you would never know that the alternative outcome exists without it having happened. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm making, like, very little sense right now. I'm a little bit tired. There's really no fix for the police in this country, sadly. This nation has two sets of law. There's laws for those that have and the laws for, yeah. I mean, that's the other big problem is, like, if you're rich, you can kind of get away with a lot more shit. I mean, we see that, like, all the time in, like, big cases and stuff. Like, if you're rich, if you're, like, wealthy and stuff, there's so much shit you can get away with that you would never get away with as, like, a normal person. I mean, yeah. Fuck. That's, like, the other hard thing to deal with. But I think that's, like, a totally separate issue from, like, that's not USA exclusive. Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think that's not even, like, and that doesn't even come down to policing. That comes down to the courts. That comes down to the full system. And, like, that's a whole separate thing from policing that you'd have to try to account for. So, yeah. Yeah, anyway. So the other one, and I kind of want more input on this one because I think this one was pretty clear cut for me. Like, there wasn't much they could do. Yeah, there wasn't much on the story. I think it's more important to probably just go watch the video. I think it was, like, more the comments on the story that bothered me more than anything, and I think it showed me that people have, like, lost that ability to, like, critically think about situations that occur. And that was a little bit sad. Anyway, the second one that happened was this one, which I will play, I think, quickly. Oops, there we go. Yep, there we go. So, can I even get this? Because I haven't watched this video, I just heard about this story briefly.
A little bit of conversating issues with my husband at some, but it sounds good. I'm just frustrated because he doesn't.
Okay,
He's just not listening to what
did you guys get into a physical confrontation?
No, nothing like that. No.
Okay.
No, our conversations we get loud. Just we like.
Can you talk to?
What? He's a good.
Thank you.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back a little bit because I missed, so police have just wanted to alleged argument between a man and a woman. So it was just they argue?
Conversating.
Okay, did you
It's
guys?
just like that.
There was no physical confrontation.
We like.
Can you?
Okay. Any outstanding words? Okay, so that's, yeah, because from what I heard, they didn't know before going there that he did.
Sorry, guys. Oh, sorry. How's it going?
Oh,
What are you, what are you doing, my friend? Huh?
did he just jump?
What are you doing?
I gotta go for a swim. Right, I'm free to go, right? You can't swim in the lake, man. I'm free to go, right?
You're not allowed to swim in the lake.
Like, yeah, I mean, at this point, like, you probably shouldn't go after him because he's probably just, it would aggravate him to jump more. So, like, at this point, there's not really much the police can do here, I don't think. And he jumps, starts swimming away. I mean, he's swimming pretty far out.
How far do you think he's going to be able to swim?
Okay, so do they show anything else? Making a band to tell officer he was drowning. Okay, I'm not jumping in after you. That's like the one thing I heard. So like this part is the part that people really got mad about, was the fact that they said we're not jumping in after you. And I understand where you could be mad with this. And I think I somewhat agree with like the idea that you could be mad about this, because I think in some contexts, like, yeah, you probably want officers to like go save somebody who's drowning. But I think when like looking at that lake, this is probably, like, again, they said there's probably reasons you can't swim in this lake, and it's probably because it's pretty dangerous. Like, that looked like it was like the river was moving. You probably don't want to jump in with a full set of gear on your back into a lake to try to save someone who's already drowning, especially if neither of these officers are strong swimmers either. Though my only thing is, like, they sounded really calm, but I don't know what else you would do in this situation. Yeah, I think a lot of people were mad that they didn't jump in after him. And again, I can kind of understand it, but like, I think there's a little bit more nuance to that conversation that most people want to give it. One, the police officers might not be good swimmers, but two, it's like you would force someone to, like, they're going to have to take off all their gear, jump in after him, and if they're not strong enough swimmers to actually get him back to shore, they're probably both going to end up drowning, and that's like the scary part. It's like you're probably going to end up, I'm trying to watch too many streams at once, all politics based, one left, two right, but the right is more like center. Wait, am I one of the right-wing streamers? Please don't say that. Or am I the lefty? I swear, I do police streams and people think I'm like center-right. I'm not. I try to give nuanced takes. Apparently that makes me center-right. Why are you watching 3 streams at once? I always consider you right-leaning. I'm kidding. Wait, well, okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know. This, like, fuck. I would want your input on this, because it kind of rubbed, like, haha, Rex, right? Like, honestly, right? Wait, Brady, have you seen these stories? I want to know, because this is, like, one that I'm kind of, like, back and forth on a little bit. But I don't know, actually, like, the first one was a little bit more clear, cut and dry to me, but, like, this one I'm, like, having a little bit more troubles kind of analyzing, because I'm, like, there's probably things they could have done, but also, like, depending on what the situation was, like, we don't know what level of, like, if they could swim well. If they take off all their gear and jumped in, they'd be able to, like, maybe get the guy back to shore, but I very much doubt it, unless you have, like, some level of, like, lifeguard training. It's really, really hard. I've visited Temp recently, have stood by this very lake. Is the water, like, rushing? Is it moving? I'm not sure why swimming isn't permitted there. There's no boat traffic, I don't think. It might be because of how deep or dangerous the water is. That could, like, be it. Or if if the lake isn't very clean, you don't want people swimming in, like, toxic water. Is it a lake or a river? It looked like a river, but maybe it was a lake. Yeah, fuck. This one was, like, hard for me, because I was, like, I understand why people are mad, but I also, like, think there's a little bit more nuance to this conversation than, like, just... that could be... I did see people on canoes there. Maybe they just didn't want the guy to jump in from that height. Maybe they were, like, trying to tell him, like, you can't swim in there because, like, they didn't want him to jump. It looks like a river, but they call it a lake. It doesn't have an open... Okay. I'm trying to see if the water was like moving. Actually, no, it seems pretty still. But it is really big. I guess, like, yeah, I think the only reason I can imagine them saying don't swim in it, either there is like regulations and rules because of safety concerns with like people swimming in the lake, and or the other reason is they're just like lying to him and telling him that like it's restricted to swimmers so that he won't jump. It could have been a fatigue and dehydration. It's very hot there. Fatigue and dehydration. Wait, for the guy to like jump? Or for the cops not to jump in. I watch a comedy show on YouTube made by degenerates that go over what happens in the news. I hear about the news in a comedic. Oh, fair enough. Hey man, if you have to watch the news, at least make it fun. It's like why I watch Bill Maher. I know not everyone loves him, but like sometimes he's funny. Not as in fatigue from swimming since it's pretty. Oh yeah, no, that would make sense. Yeah, for sure. That I could understand. There's also an undertow which is powerful swimmers can't do anything about. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think people are really upset about the story because like the police officers are like they should have jumped in after him to save him, but it's like the likelihood that they actually would have saved him if they had jumped in after him, I think are really, really slim. Because A, you would have to be a really strong swimmer. You'd have to take all your gear off, be a really strong swimmer, and then be able to like rescue someone. And that's like, even if you're a strong swimmer, the chance of you like pulling someone that far out of their water, doubtable. With their gear, they also wouldn't have been able to swim. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, again, this is like one of those stories where it's like, police brutality is bad. And there's times where police do horrible, there's a lot of times where police do horrible, awful things. But when you like take every story between a police and a citizen that goes like slightly wrong and put it up as like, look how bad the police are, you like destroy your own cause. Because it's like, there is actual stories to like report on and be like, this is something that like a police officer did really, really bad things. But like stories like this, it's like, what did you want the officer to do? Like, what could have gone better here? What protocol could we fix that would have changed the outcome of the situation? That wouldn't have just been like, they both probably would have died because if he had jumped, or like one of them would have made it out because he probably wouldn't have been able to save the other person unless he had like some level of lifeguard training where he could. And even lifeguards have to take like a floating device out to sea when they go to save somebody because the chances of you actually saving someone without them being floating on something is very low. That's why like lifeguards don't just run in without some type of like flotation device to get somebody on, because like to carry someone through the water, especially that far, is really difficult. I don't know if anyone's tried to do it. I have friends who can't swim, and even just getting them back onto like a paddle boat or something is like hard. So it's like one of those things where I'm like, fuck, like stop harping on causes that like don't matter, that like don't really like do anything for like actually proving your point. Unless the person is trained to rescue, the rescuer is going to get unintentionally drowned by the person trying to save. Yeah, like if a person's, and I was talking to my friend Will about this last night, he's like, if a person's panicking and like flailing in the water and you try to rescue them, you're both going to drown because the person like will not calm down enough for you to be able to actually like work with them to get back to the shore. They seemed to communicate with him calmly and tried to intervene. It didn't seem like they threatened him, and that's why he climbed over. I'm no friend of cops, but this doesn't seem like anything brutality to me. That was like my thing. It's like this became a really big story like on Twitter and like throughout the news and stuff like that. And everyone was reporting on this, and I was like, this doesn't seem like anything like negative, or like, I mean, it's sad that somebody died, but this isn't something like, God, what's like the word? Like, there wasn't an interaction by the cops that caused this outcome. Like, they were called to break up, like, obviously, like, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the video, but, like, the man and woman were fighting, so someone obviously called the cops to, like, intervene, because it seemed like it was getting to a pretty intense fight. So they went and talked to her, and then they went and talked to him, and the guy freaked out because he had an outstanding warrant, I believe. Like, they pulled up his files, and they realized he had an outstanding warrant, and that's when the guy freaked out and jumped. And it's like, oh, what do you want the police to do in that situation? Like, their protocol says, like, they have to check for, like, outstanding warrants. And, like, they probably should if you're, like, going to talk to somebody. There are so many other blatant cases of abuse daily. It's weird to get... Yeah, that's, like, my thing. Is, like, why did people harp so much on this one? Like, why was this the one that got picked up? It felt really weird to me. And I was like, maybe I missed something, but the fact that you guys, like, Brady's more far left than I am, so the fact that you're not, like, super upset about this makes me think that people are freaking out over nothing. That's how I usually, like, test, because I'm like, I'm a little bit, like, more nuanced than the average person. I'm like, maybe I'm just not looking at this the same way everyone else is. Because I'm, like, I will sit a little bit more center on issues to try to get, like, a good understanding of them. Because I don't, like, you know, I understand people get, like, yeah. People do get emotional about these situations, understandably, right? Like, it involves human lives and, like, difficult situations. People will get emotional, and I'm like, maybe I'm missing something that other people see. But then I get on stream and I talk to, like, other people who come in, like you, Brady, or Veldrain even, like, people will kind of give me other perspectives, and I'm like, if I kind of, like, vibe with my community, that I can, like, understand that. I'm like, okay, so maybe people were just freaking out over nothing. Do you see the irony of people getting upset with this? People complain that police do too much and try to do too many different types of jobs at once. Yeah, for this they need to be like, yeah, exactly. It's like, you simultaneously want cops to do more and less. It's like, ooh, this kind of comes out to, like, the outcome bias is, like, especially with the other story that I just covered, was, like, people were really mad because the cops didn't do, like, a forceful takedown of this guy to make sure that he didn't jump off the bridge. And it's like, if you didn't know that this was the alternate outcome, that the guy would have jumped off the bridge, and you just saw the police take down the dude on the side of the street, like, you know, intensely, you probably would have been like, oh, this is police brutality. They didn't need to use that much force. They tased him 3 times. But because the guy got up after the 3 tasings and still jumped off the bridge, people are like, they need to do something more. But it's like, in any other situation, you would have said that anything more would have been too excessive. It's rare I'm giving them this level of benefit of the doubt, but yeah, this could be at the most be considered neglect. But even then, it's just a stretch in my opinion. Yeah, that's what it felt like. It's like, there's so many other situations, and I'm like, fuck. It sucks, because, like, you could do, like, this is the type of situation you can do so much good with. Like, police brutality is something that really needs to be addressed, and, like, bringing up, like, the good case, like, not good cases, but, like, the extreme case of police brutality and being like, look at how fucked up this is, like, this shit needs to stop, is really a good way to get people on, because, like, you can appeal to people's emotions and get them on your side to change policy. But then when you throw stories like this in, you deter people from wanting to join your cause, because you're like, well, then everything is, like, police brutality. Psychologically speaking, the person's risk aversion was compromised to the point where he was endangering himself. Going after him or trying to restrain him wouldn't have been the right approach either. Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't, yeah, it's like, I don't know what you would expect anyone to do in this situation. And again, even, like, for lifeguards, like, even if you did expect them to be lifeguards, it's like, unless they have some type of flotation device, the chances of a lifeguard, like, saving somebody out in open water without any type of flotation device is, like, also kind of low, because that's usually why, like, lifeguards have that, like, little, what are they called? The little boards that, like, help you float through water. Just so somebody has, like, something enough to, like, hang on to, like, calm down and breathe before you have to, like, swim them back in. Anyway, yeah. Okay, those are, like, the 2 big stories I wanted to talk about. There wasn't really much to, like, say on them, but it was something that I want to, like, that really bothered me that I saw. Oh, hello?
What are you doing in here by yourself?
Me? Oh, I was on stream. I'm streaming.
Okay, I just wanted to check. You look. It was weird. I just saw your name.
No, you're good. I'm
Okay,
vibing.
Okay, have fun with your stream.
Thanks, bye. That was my friend Sahil. He checks in all of us periodically. Whenever someone's sitting alone in Discord, you always go and check on them and like, hey, you good, buddy? And I was like sitting alone in my Discord call, like, and he's like, are you good? I'm good. I don't stream often alone because I get, like, really nervous doing streams alone. I think it, like, makes me uncomfy because I don't know how to, like, talk on my own. So, like, unless there's, like, people in my chat, I feel really awkward. Like, I know I've been streaming for, like, a few months now, but I still, like, feel super uncomfy when I stream alone. I don't know why. I'm trying to get better at it. That's why I tried to even stream alone today, but I'm, like, gonna jump back into a call with my friends because I'm, like, I feel like I'm, like, awkward and stupid when I'm alone. But that just might be me feeling. It just might be me. Fuck, yeah. The comedy show put on by degenerates that I watched came to the same conclusion. It's a weird way of saying being also that I'm a degenerate. It's normal. It even happens to me at times. How long have you been streaming, Brady? Because I, like, started a few months ago, and I think, like, that panic still sets in when I'm, like, gonna stream. Because I'm like, what if I, like, sound stupid, or what if I say something stupid? But, like, at least if I have friends to, like, kind of bounce off of, it's a little bit easier. But I'm trying to get better at streaming on my own, because I'm like, I'm not always gonna have people around to stream with. And I want to be able to just, like, hang out with my chat and, like, talk to them. But I don't know. It's a weird thing to go back and forth with a little bit. We're slowly getting better at it. Because I've also had people like come into my chat and ask me like, oh, can you like some of like people that I've talked to like outside of my stream, they're like, oh, you should stream alone because it's like easier for you to talk to chat. But then I'm like, I always panic. Only a couple of months on my personal channel, but I've done streams in the past for like a podcast project. Okay, so you're a little bit more comfortable with it. But yeah, I think probably that switch to like streaming with other people was probably or streaming without other people is like scary. But yeah, trying to be entertaining for prolonged periods of time takes some getting used to. Yeah, that's why I try to like pick out stories. Like I only stream when I have a bunch of stories like lined up. So like today was like the police brutality stuff and then the Supreme Court decision stuff. Because that one was actually really bad. And now I'm finally going to start styling like a left-wing person because I'm going to actually disagree with the 6-3 decision made. And this is like, again, this is like got me so fucking mad because like everyone picked up that stupid police brutality story last week and it was like the biggest story. This also happened in the last 2 weeks and it got like zero news coverage. And I was like, this is actually a really important decision for people and we should be talking about it. But like no news stories covered it, like no, like on TV. I didn't see any like Twitter people talking about this. I saw one tweet from this stupid Sean King guy, which I don't know if you guys know Sean King. I hate him. Okay. Awful. I need to pull up the tweets. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, I tried to get into streaming. I could never relax while streaming and that just wore me down. It felt too much like an extension of my job. Yeah, I like wanted to stream because I want like talking about politics and legal stuff in my like spare time all the time. So I was like, I need to stream because my friends are all just getting annoyed with me talking about this shit all the time. So I'm like, I need other people to vent too. So this is like kind of my fun time in the evening after like I get all my work done, even though all my work revolves around legal and philosophy stuff. But I like doing like analysis of stuff without like having to do it for like a homework assignment or something. I do have the most fun streaming with others though. Going on with Ed or we bring on a chat is always great. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite. Like I loved when I went on with you and Ed. That was so fucking fun for me. Like I love chats like that. And I think like talking to people like you and Ed who have like a little bit more of an educational background, who can engage in like sometimes like those, like I love having like general conversations, but I think sometimes like once in a while it's nice to have like a high level conversation with like people who also know about the same topics that you do. Even if I'm not as well versed in psychology, but like with criminology and psychology, like there's some overlap, so it's kind of nice to have those type of conversations. Or like people who like are more politically invested. Like you obviously know a lot about your positions, like what you believe. So it's kind of fun to talk about that type of stuff with people who also engage with those type of topics kind of a little bit more heavily. Yeah, let me find the tweet because I kind of want to get your guys' feedback. I saw this tweet and I thought like the story was going to be really, really, oh fuck. I actually have to sign in on Twitter, fuck. Dang it. Yeah, we'll for sure do that again soon. I've been absent for a week since I've been moving, starting a new job. Oh yeah, I was wondering where you've been because I feel like I haven't seen Brady on Ed's channel in a while. I was like, maybe they got into a fight, maybe they broke up, and then I saw you in the chat today and I was like, okay, they didn't break up, we're good. But yeah, no, I would love to do it again. Like honestly, that was such a good conversation. I enjoyed it so much. Like I would 100% come back on anytime. I'd go on with just Ed, but Ed does a lot of the anime stuff and I don't follow. I don't have time to watch a whole anime and catch up. I can type with a filter, but speak without one. So I was always thinking about everything I said, which didn't really allow me to relax. Yeah. I try to filter myself on stream, but I'm not good at it, so. Oopsies. I like say stuff on stream that I know I like definitely shouldn't. Okay, I need to find out how to log into my Twitter because it's not logged in anymore. Damn it. Damn it. What is my username? There we go. It's Rex73, duh. Because I only made a Twitter because I was going to start streaming. That was literally the only reason I got Twitter. Nah, I just haven't had the opportunity. Just got on the internet, set up my new place, and getting a desk in tomorrow, so I'll be back on stream. Oh, that's awesome! Well, that's... Did you recently move? How long have you not had login, please? Wait, log into what? Context matters to me. Twitch TOS, which they vaguely follow. Context does not matter. Yeah, that's kind of the scary thing. So I'm like, I probably said things on like stream that I shouldn't, but I don't know. My channel's not big enough for them to check on, so it's okay. We're fine for now. Wait, log in, please. To what? Twitter? I'm trying. I am attempting, Prim, okay? I never remember any of my logins for anything, so I have them typed somewhere. I have them written down somewhere. I just don't know where. So, I'm good. It's not there. Shit, oh no. Clips down the interwebs forever. Yeah, I know. I don't care. Whatever. Clip me, then. I don't do it. Call me racist. I'm a brown woman, okay? What are you gonna do? I guess brown people can be racist, but I'm like more racist to my own like people than anyone else, so I don't care. I can be racist to other brown people, right? That's allowed. That's the worst you're probably gonna find me saying. Maybe, actually, no, I said some crazy shit. Here's an example of what a racist would say. Message delete. And that's why you don't say a Twitch employee clip and clip a band. Sometimes I worry that I'm going to say something on stream that's going to come back to me in my future, but also, like, did anyone else have those, like, derail? What do you want to derail to? You have to, okay, I need to, like, make terms for that. If you're going to use it, you have to derail to something you want. That's, like, the whole point is, like, you can derail the conversation. Damn. Why? Do I talk too much? I stream alone. What the fuck do you want from me? I don't know my password for this. Why am I so stupid? Why am I having such a hard time today? Oh, my password's not there. We're going to start trying a bunch of passwords and hopefully one of them gets... Okay, you're good now. Damn. Got me. So... I literally was just complaining about how, like, awkward I feel on stream, like, not saying anything, and then you're like, a moment of silence. Thank you. I appreciate it. Make it real good for my mental health, Prim. A streamer I watched once joked that he sold the game's premium currency for money. Someone clipped it and both Twitch and the game company went after him. No! See, okay, no. Oh, sorry. This is the story I was going to tell. I don't know if you guys had this or if, like, I was, like, Actually, I think you're all older than me. So you probably all have heard, like, this growing up at some point. Where you're, like, your parents would tell you, like, whatever you say online, like, will come back to you. Which is, like, true. Like, it can because everything's on the internet is permanent. But we also got the whole thing of, like, oh... Don't put anything on the internet because future employers are going to look at all your social media and everything that you post online to make sure that you're not somebody like they don't want to hire. And we got told that so much growing up. And I have never met an employer who's ever done like a background check into your social media. I am petrified of this for zero reason. I have never had an employer ever look at that shit. But it still, like, terrifies me to the core because my parents told me it so much growing up. Like, your employers are going to check your social media. Don't post anything. And now I have nothing on my Instagram for the last 10 years of my life. I've had an Instagram, and I don't put anything on it. Because I'm, like, terrified that... I don't know. I don't comment, like... Instagram, I don't comment on anything. Twitter, I don't tweet anything. Like, Twitch is, like, the one place that I've, like, expressed my opinions. Because everywhere else, I'm, like, terrified that, like... An employer is going to check your comment history on that post that you liked 10 years ago where you posted something stupid. But, like, it's, like, so ingrained in me, and I don't know if that was, like, my parents' thing or if that was, like, a generational thing. Yeah, I heard that a lot as well. It never happened to me, though. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, like, it was, like, the whole stranger danger thing on the internet. Like, when we were growing up, it's, like, stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers on the internet. And here I am, like, talking to all of you, which we're all strangers, technically. They weren't wrong, but it's also a bit of an exaggeration. Yeah, like, it can happen. But, like, it's unlikely that your, like, employer is gonna go through, like, again, comment section of every post you've ever liked to make sure you didn't post anything bad. Anyway, yeah. Like, they don't have time for that shit. An employer won't check your Instagram history, but a person out to get you might. Yeah, 100%. Like, a person might come out, but unless you get, like, a really big following, it's unlikely that someone would... Like, someone who's, like, really, like, big, you know, like... if you have like a lot of notoriety, or if you're like, you know, you're in politics, or if you're like a decent level of an influencer, or if you do something super controversial, people will go after you. But I don't know if I'm ever in like that type of position. Also, my real name isn't linked to anything of my online. Like my social media even doesn't have my real name. My Twitch doesn't have my real name. Like nothing social media wise has my real name anywhere. Like not my full name. You would never be able to find my last name anywhere or any of that. So I was also one of those kids that was really smart when I was like 12. And no, my name isn't Wax. Parker Woodley. Hi, Nickmer. Anyway, I was like one of those things when I was like 12, I was like super panicked about like things happening online, so I didn't want people to find me, and I was like this freaked out little 12-year-old. I don't know why. I like never had Facebook for that reason, because Facebook freaked me out, but I was like a stupid little 12-year-old. But I was really smart 12-year-old, because literally none of my social media is traceable back to like my real life person, because none of it has like real information about me or my real name. So like you can't find me anywhere, like if you wanted to. Hi, Sam. I always forget it. I'm calling you Sam because I always say that when you come into chat, but I always feel like I'm saying that wrong. Good luck to any potential employers to find your degeneracy multiple 8-hour stream bots. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like there's like 80 hours of content that you would have to go through to find like one bad thing. Oh, thank you for, oh my god, Lou. Thank you for the subscribe. That's awesome. Oh my god, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Lou's been like in my stream since like I think like the first week that I started streaming. He was like one of the first people who showed up, so he's been like with me since I started. Like he's been around. He has been around since I started streaming, which wasn't that long ago, but it's kind of crazy that you've been around that long. It's probably a good idea to be anonymous. Lol, that ship has sailed for me. Yeah, I don't know why. Again, it was like one of those things. I was a really paranoid kid about everything. Like, I don't trust people. I don't trust anything that happens. So I'm like, I just like as 12-year-old that I'm like, I'm gonna make an alias, or not an alias. I like don't use my full name or like any like. I use like parts of like my real name, and attach it to like my handles or whatever. But like my full name isn't like my last name is nowhere on the internet. You can't find my last name anywhere. You would never know my last name. That's like one thing I definitely don't give away. I think between all my social medias, you might be able to figure out my first and middle name, but like you would never figure out my last name, so it's good. Weird things, eh? Okay. I don't know how to log into my Twitter, so I'm gonna find the tweet and I'm gonna send it to myself, and then I will pull it up on stream, and then we'll go over the story of the Supreme Court decision. Yeah. One enjoys your content. Aw, thank you. I appreciate you, Lude. You've been you're always like lurking too. Like you never come into chat, but he's always like lurking watching the stream, which I appreciate. Anyway, it's really funny though now because like every time there's like a big story now, my friends all send me like the story on Instagram because they're like, "Can you explain this to us?" And I was like, oh, I'm like the go-to person now for like legal analysis, and I'm like, you guys realize I don't have that good of an understanding of law. Like I have a decent understanding because I do like a lot of law stuff like for my schooling, but it's not like I'm so like. All my friends will like send me legal stuff now, or like send me like things going on and be like, can you analyze this? Can you explain this to us? And I'm like, I guess I'll try. I'm not. Anyway, yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. Okay, let me send this to myself and then I can show it on stream. Sorry, this is taking me longer because I thought I'd be able to like, I thought I'd be logging into my Twitter, of course, but I'm not. Okay, there we go. Send. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone heard about... Did anyone hear about this? Let me open it. The court decision on the prisoner's ability to pursue claims that their lawyers were incompetent. I don't know if anyone heard about this, because I didn't hear anyone fucking talking about this, but this is actually a pretty big deal. This is something that I think actually should be talked about. But, like, no one picked it up in news, because I just don't think anyone cared that much. Well, true, I don't want people finding dumb shit I posted when I was 12. I only started using my real name recently as not cringe adult, which I'm more comfortable. That's fair. That's the thing, is, like, you're more settled into your adult life. It's a little bit easier, because you're also, like, a little bit more in control of, like, things you say. Whereas, like, for me, no worries, still cringe. Dang. Still cringe. Gotti. Oops, that was not supposed to show up there. Stupid. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was like an ultra paranoid kid. I was I was an 80-year-old in a 12-year-old's body, okay? Like, I was one of those people that, like, at 12 years old, panicking, worrying about the world. I was like, what is life? What is death? You know? Okay. There we go. Look at that. I pulled up the tweet now. Anyway, so this is the one Sean King tweeted. I'm having a stroke. So the other day, the Supreme Court decided in a 6-3 vote that evidence of innocence is not enough to have a guilty verdict overturned for a person who's convicted of a crime, even if they were sentenced to death. Someone in the chat, this is an experiment. Someone in the chat, tell me, when you read this tweet, what do you assume that this case was? What do you assume that this person is saying about this case? What does this sound like to you? Someone just like, at first read, what would you assume that this person is trying to say about the 6-3 vote? Treat your job like it's the place where you live. No one needs to know where you work, with the exception of people being close to you. Yeah. That reads so bad. Yeah. Right? You would assume. Oops. Or at least when I first read this, like the initial thing I read, I was like, okay, Supreme Court decided in a 6-3 vote that evidence of innocence is not enough to have a guilty verdict overturned for a person who is convicted of a crime. So in my head, that read as like, oh, even if you have proof that you were innocent, like if you had proof you were at somewhere else at the time of a crime, you couldn't submit that to be able to overturn a guilty verdict. Did anyone else read it like that, or is that just me? Yeah, something like that. Okay. So I initially thought that, and then my friend had sent me this post on Instagram, and then I read the name Sean King, and I realized, I'm like, oh, okay, so Sean King posted this, so it's obviously not true. Sorry. This dude never, like, I swear to God, everything this guy posts is like the most hyper-inflammatory stuff I've ever read, and I'm like, this guy lives to like dramatize everything. So this guy was presenting the story as if, like, you can't present evidence in court to, like, who's this? He's, like, a big, like, activist online, but he's a moron. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about most of the time, and he just says the most inflammatory things. You can go through his Instagram and Twitter. He just says a lot of stupid things. I will leave it at that. I try not to use words stronger than stupid, because it's the only word I'm comfortable saying about people, because it's not too mean, but I can still call people stupid without subscribe. Oh, thanks, Sterling. I like watching country dancing. Nice. Anyway, Sterling comes in to derail once in a while. So I read this post and I was like, what the flying fuck happened in the Supreme Court that no one is talking about this? Because if this actually did happen, it would be a really big fucking deal. If they actually, like, you know, had a 6-3 vote where they, like, literally banned people from providing evidence that they were innocent. Yeah, of course, that's not actually what happened. What this case is actually about, and what the original case that this is based on, basically, this applies to people who sue their, like, let's say you get charged with a crime, and you go to court. Now, if your lawyer does a terrible job defending you and was incompetent, you can sue that lawyer and say, like, hey, they didn't present my case well, and I want to and if you win the case against your lawyer, you can have your case retried so that you can try to get a innocent verdict, right? So there's like 2 steps there. Well, if the person for your secondary case, right, where you're suing the lawyer, is also incompetent, you can sue them at the federal level. And what this whole story... Oh, thank you! Thanks, Ed! Hi! Oh god, now I'm trying to explain legal stuff while like a bunch of people are showing up. Anyway, so this whole thing was basically like, if you were suing the lawyer who is a secondary, like you are suing like 2 steps removed from the original case, you can't present new evidence. Okay, I got you. Hello guys, how's it going? Pretty much what this case was, like, you can't present new evidence in a situation where you're already like suing a lawyer who's suing your original lawyer, Which, hold on, I will say, hi guys, hi to everyone coming in, welcome. This is basically like if you were suing the lawyer who helped you sue the original lawyer, and they were also incompetent, you can't present new evidence in a federal court when you're trying to get this case overruled to get a new verdict, like to get a new trial in the original case. Like that's how far it removed it is, was basically. And now I will say I don't agree with this ruling. This ruling was fucking terrible, because what it means is basically if you take your case to the Supreme Court and say like, hey, they mishandled my case and I have evidence to show that they mishandled my case because they didn't take this evidence into account in my original case, you can't present that new evidence to prove that your lawyer was incompetent. So this is still a really bad ruling by the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, like, which all the conservatives voted to funny enough, it was all the conservatives who voted to pass this ruling. But anyway, that's besides the point. But basically what it means is you can't like if you're trying to prove that your lawyer was incompetent, you can't take this new evidence that shows that he was incompetent because they ignored this evidence. You can't present that at the federal level to get your case like retried. But like that's a far cry from what this tweet is saying. This tweet is basically like, oh, if you're like getting a guilty verdict, you can't put in evidence that you were innocent. It's like, no. If you're suing your lawyer if you're suing your secondary lawyer to get a case like retried, you can't present new evidence in that situation, which is a far cry from just saying you can't present like an innocent, like, or evidence that would prove you innocent in a court of law for a criminal charge. Like these are super like different things, but like this was like the hyper inflammatory language that this person used was crazy. And I was like, if you're going to present a story that's this serious, which it actually really is, like the 6-3 decision it's not good, because this is actually something that could really affect people in the future of being able to get like a secondary, to be able to like have their cases retried to like, if you were like, got a guilty verdict in your original trial and you're like, fuck, I don't think my lawyer handled this well, I want to present new evidence. Well, now you can't. So this is a really big issue. And also the court case that this was based on was the guy wasn't even suing the first lawyer. He was suing the secondary lawyer who was helping him sue the first lawyer. So basically the first lawyer mishandled his original case and he wanted to sue that lawyer. So he had a secondary counsel given to him, and that counsel also mishandled this case. So he was suing the secondary counsel at the federal level to say that like both of these past counsels had mishandled my case, and I want to present new evidence against these counsels to show that they mishandled my case. And at that level, so like it was 3 steps removed from like an actual like criminal court case, if that makes sense. It's a really convoluted story. But again, it's like, this was like my big issue with it, was when you present it like this, which was so simplistic, you like lose the meaning of what this actual like 6-3 decision meant, which is still like, this 6-3 decision is really bad. And it's a really negative thing. It's going to like affect a lot of people who are trying to get like a guilty verdict overturned because they have new evidence that proves them innocent. Even if they're sentenced to death, which is this original case. And so like it's not like, oh shit, it's so bad. But like then you have people like Sean King perpetuating this idea that like the Supreme Court just disallowed people from being able to present evidence in a criminal court. Yeah, it's a whole like. Fucking lefties are, I have a bunch of lefties in my chat, I'm sure right now, but like, I'm gonna shit on lefties for a second. Lefties are really, really bad at advocating for issues that like, are like really, that actually need to be addressed, because they'll go into the most hyper-inflammatory way to present it to try to get people like riled up about it. But it's like, you don't even need to go that inflammatory with the way your rhetoric is, because this is already a bad enough thing in itself. If you just explained it to people in the right way, people would realize that this is a really negative thing. Like, people should be able to have their cases tried again, especially if your original lawyer was incompetent and unable to like provide the proper evidence to have you exonerated. You should be able to sue for that, and you should be able to present new evidence that shows that original lawyer was incompetent. But when you like present all of these cases in a really hyper-inflammatory way, and people then go look up, because again, I read this and I was like, this is really bad if this is what happened. But then I read the actual story and I'm like, why the hell would you present it like that? And even I was a little bit turned off, because I was like, well, this is kind of stupid comparatively to like what actually like was said in the Instagram or the tweet. compared to like what the actual story was. And fuck, it's so hard because like when I'm trying to like when I actually want to do good advocacy online, like especially in the criminal justice system, because that's like my field that I want to go into in the future. Like I'm trying to get my degree to go into that field, and I actually want to make policy changes. When I see stuff like this, it's like, fuck. It's like you're not only combating bad ideas from the right, now you have to also like combat bad ideas from the left, which like yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm tired, so I'm like stuttering a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, let me go through some of these comments, because I missed a bunch. Get a third lawyer to sue the second lawyer who messed up the suing the first lawyer. Literally what it is. It's like the first lawyer messed up, he got a secondary counsel give it to him. The secondary counsel messed up, so they went to the federal level to sue the second, like both those. Yeah. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Wait, is it new evidence that the first lawyer did not have, though? No, basically, it was incompetence. So, like, the first lawyer probably could have had access to that evidence, but the first lawyer didn't, like, either ignored certain leads, ignored certain evidence that was available to them, and didn't, it's like anything that's incompetence, like anything, like, where your lawyer, like, clearly had options to, like, probably gather evidence or, any type of information that would have had your case go a different way, but decided not to, you can sue for incompetence on that level. But yeah, it's like any like evidence that like should have been used in the case that the lawyer didn't use, you should be able to like then present in a new case to say like, this is the stuff that they left out that they had access to or that they should have had access to. I think in like one of these cases that this was based on, he claimed that the lawyer didn't pursue a lead that would have like exonerated him, basically, because it would have like that lead would have basically said like, oh, this person couldn't have been there at the time of at the time of a murder, so the lawyer completely disregarded that lead, and at that point like you're just being negligent towards your defendant, right? Easily shouldn't be wealthy and be able to hire a competent lawyer. Yeah, well, to be fair, in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, we see money doesn't buy a competent lawyer. No offense, that case had a lot of issues with it, but like her lawyer was like, I don't know if her lawyer was like actually that competent in the case. But there's a lot you could talk about. I didn't watch the whole trial, but from like I watched a decent amount of it, and from what I saw, like that lawyer. But I don't think that lawyer had a lot to base off of, so I don't blame the lawyer too much, because it's super hard when like you're the person you're trying to defend is like giving you nothing to work with. It can be a little bit hard because like what are you supposed to do with that? Her psychologist was also terrible. Oh wait, really? I don't know enough about her psychologist. Wait, what was the psychologist like? I would actually want to know about that. I mean, it's kind of hard to defend the case, but yeah, like that's the thing. Well, okay, Johnny was also really smart because people were like, oh, why didn't he take up criminal charges? Like he could have sued her for domestic abuse and stuff. And I was like, Johnny was really smart because he went for like a really easy charge. Like he went for something that's civil, so the burden of proof is much lower. And all you had to prove that something in like that the article was intentionally defamatory, and like that's a way lower burden of proof than you would need to like prove domestic violence. And I think it was a really like the deliberation, I think we all saw at the end, was like I think 10 or 20 minutes. Like the deliberation between the jury was so short because it was such a clear-cut case of like, yeah, like it was kind of obvious that like to some extent you like lied. It was a defamatory like piece of work, right? Does anyone know? Okay, also I want to know something because there's a lot of you here right now. Does anyone actually know anyone who defended Amber Heard? Because I saw it a lot on Twitter where like people were actually defending her, but I would love to hear if like there was anyone who knows anyone in real life who's like kind of on her side. Her documentation was so poor and often not filled out for crucial areas, things that normally you should lose your license. Oh, yikes. There was a lot of, oh, fuck. One of the other big things that Amber did was the evidence, the piece of evidence where she submitted the photo twice. And she said they were separate photos, but it was clearly a photo that had been photo edited. Like, she could get in so much trouble for this shit. Like, this case had so many issues, bro. Like, oh my god. That was, like, when the case, to me, like, fell apart so hard. Because she, like, was like, no, they're two separate photos. And she, like, doubled down in front of the judge on the stand, was like, no, they're two separate photos. But it was clearly, like, it was the exact same photo that she submitted twice. And she had clearly edited and oversaturated the second photo. yikes. Like, there's, oh god, that trial, I could, like, there's so many issues with it that I could talk about. She's essentially just a trial witness in the end. She doesn't actually have, okay. Amber Heard's issue for her sham counter-sue was that she's prettier than her ability to act. Wait, really? Wait, what? Do you have ear? Yeah. I don't, fuck, it was like the people, like, I saw a lot of, like, I think a lot of Twitch streamers, too, like, defended her, and everyone was like, oh, this is gonna be really bad for women in the future, and I'm like, well, maybe, like, don't encourage people to lie about domestic abuse. Like, the fact that, like, this case is now being martyred as, like, women are gonna have it so hard in the future for, like, domestic violence cases, to me was, like, really bad. And I know people hate the word rhetoric, but, like, it's really bad rhetoric, because, like, we shouldn't let a bad case like this, like, Amber Heard was putting on a show and it wasn't convincing. Oh, yeah. But, like, I remember I saw, oh, I don't know, it was, like, trending on Twitter, but there was the article, it was, like, what does Amber Heard's outcome mean for black women? And I was like, oh my god, is this really the route we're taking with this? Is, like, we're gonna say, like, black women are gonna suffer because Amber Heard lost this case? Like, that's how much you want to play up, like, that complex? But it was so stupid, because it's, like, Amber Heard losing this case had nothing to do with domestic violence. You know what I mean? Like, people treated this as if it was, like, a criminal domestic violence case, and it wasn't. It was a defamation case. So, like, there was no proof that, like, he or she, like, didn't beat one another. It was just, like, the whole point was, like, the article was written in a way that would have defamed somebody. People are stupid. That case bugged me so much. I hated the, like, fact that people made, like, a show out of, like, a case that was, like, kind of, like, pretty serious, like, something that probably shouldn't. It was so flashy and they played it up so much, and that really bugged me. Like, I hate when people do that. That's always bothered me. I don't know, that, like, yeah, that whole thing of, like, people making a spectacle out of, like, even a defamation of domestic abuse, it felt really weird. When you take the unreasonable part of Me Too movement mixed with, like, the Heard versus Depp trial, you get some pretty wild takes. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. Like, the Me Too stuff has kind of, fuck, I'm gonna get in trouble for some of the shit that I say. Oh well. The Me Too stuff is kind of getting to a point where it's like, the whole point of Me Too was to focus on people who didn't have access to justice, right? Like, the whole point was, like, there is, like, people in this world who, like, probably won't ever get justice because the person that abused them was so powerful, and that was the whole point of Me Too. So it's why it started in Hollywood, is, like, there was a lot of powerful men in Hollywood who took advantage of young women who wanted a head start. And the fact that we're, like, now using that as, like, oh, like, the first option for, like, trying to get justice now is, like, people go online and expose the person who abused them. And it so often is, like, I don't think this is how we should be encouraging people to, like, get their justice. It shouldn't be, like, this online thing. The whole point of Me Too was, like, this whole thing of, like, people who can't get justice in any other way would go to the media and, like, be like, this is what happened to me. But, like, now Me Too has turned into, like, instead of going to, like, lawyers or going to the police or anything like that, the whole point is just to get, like, to basically, like, go online and be like, haha, this person, like, abused me, so, like, go cancel them or whatever. Like, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about that becoming, like, such a normalized thing now. It feels really, like, icky to me again. It's like, I don't like that that's where we've gotten with so much of this stuff, and I see it on TikTok so much, like, with, like, young people. It's like, all these TikTokers and stuff do it, where they'll, like, make a Me Too video of, like, and it's like, there's times where, like, people have gone to the police and not been able to get help, but if, like, your first thing when you get, like, when you have a situation with somebody is to, like, just defame them on social media, I don't know if I like that. And this thing that I hate more is that people will jump up the bandwagon so hard. It's like, as soon as somebody's accused, people are, like, ready to cancel them. And it's like, you have, like, no evidence that this happened or that this happened in this way. And it's like, I know we should, like, my whole thing is, like, I hate the term, like, believe all women or believe all victims, because I think it's, like, you can get into some scary territory with that, but I think it's, like, every accusation should be taken seriously through the justice system. But it doesn't mean you need to, like, take every situation and be like, oh, they're definitely telling the truth, because there's people who lie, and it does happen. And we shouldn't be, like, ruining people's lives over a lie. But, like, every victim should be, like, or every person who comes forward with an accusation should be taken seriously and should be giving their date in court, because this is a really important thing. But, like, the fact that we're, like, now running to, like, the first thing that you do when like something happens, like something bad, like a bad situation takes place, is you're like gonna like go to social media and expose them, and then everyone just jumps on the bandwagon and it's like, oh yeah, she exposed him, like now we're gonna cancel him. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a little gross to me, and I don't know if I like the way that like social media is encouraging that type of like behavior. Me Too is an excellent cause, but people are people, sadly, so possible exploitation will always, yeah. Yeah, and that's like every social movement, right? Like it always happens because there's always going to be bad actors. Public trial is much faster than judicial system. Yeah, but it's like, it's also much shadier because like there's no standards, right? Like you can accuse someone and that could be it for them. Like think about even Johnny Depp. It's like he got accused by Amber Heard for like domestic violence. He lost like all of his movie deals and stuff, and now it comes out that it's like, oh, maybe he wasn't the abusive one. And now it's like we all feel like shit, but it's like you guys were so ready to cancel him as soon as that. And even I back then when that first happened, even I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'll like watch his movies anymore because like I felt a little weird. But now I feel like I look back on that, I'm like, maybe like I now try to like every time these situations happen, I like try to take a second look and be like, I want this to be taken seriously, and the victim needs to like be given a date in court, needs to be given support and all this type of stuff. But it doesn't mean instantly like going to like the abuser and like being like, this person needs to be taken down, this person needs to be canceled, like take away all their work, take, like, you know, all this type of stuff, and like go after them, because it's like there's gonna be situations where people are bad actors, and the fact that we're like punishing every person who gets accused, I think it, like, before there's any evidence is, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. We have a person here in Greece that posts under the name Yes, You're a Misogynist, who becomes very big since the Me Too thing started. Her takes sometimes are horrible about the Amber Heard case. It was plain moronic. Yeah. We're like, it's like this whole, like, we're almost becoming misandrous society because, like, people are like, fuck. People get really excited about like canceling people, and it's like, shit, it's kind of scary. Yeah, public trial has killed a few guys who got falsely accused, drove them to sit. Yeah, I remember that case, and I was like, that shit was so fucked up. It's like, this girl just, I mean, I remember one specifically where the girl accused him, and then like 2 months after he like killed himself, she basically was like, oh yeah, it was like all a lie, it wasn't true. And like, there was like no repercussions for this person. It's like, how, like, to me, that should be like, you should be getting repercussions for that, because like your direct action led to this person's death. Like, pretty cut and dry. Like, if you hadn't done what you did, this person would still be alive. And I was like, oh god. Okay. I'm gonna go see if my friends want to play some games, because I don't know, they're still playing GTA. God damn it, all my friends like play games that are like so big, and I'm like, I have 40 gigs left on my computer, and that's after I moved everything off my computer. Because I bought these small, when I bought my new laptop, I wasn't planning to stream, I wasn't planning to buy games, because I was like, it's going to be my school laptop and it's just for working. And then I started streaming and gaming, and now I have like no space on my computer, because like, I bought like the smallest like hard drive, or like the smallest like SSD, because I was like, I don't need space, it's fine, I'm like just writing fucking PowerPoints all day. And I'm sitting here with like, the other day, like I literally got down to like 250 megabytes left on my space, on my storage space. That's how much space I had left, 250 megabytes. And I had to like either delete a bunch of stuff, or I moved everything onto my tablet. Like all of my old like files and stuff, I just moved off onto my tablet, because I was like, I need space on my computer to like play games and like download my VODs and stuff. Yeah. There's a catch with me and the Johnny Depp in the future. If he is attracted to abusive people, the next time I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Heard this before, you need help, Johnny. Stop getting involved with people romantically until you get it, because next time it's your... Yeah. There's like, it's a hard line to toe, because it's like, for people who get into abusive relationships, it's really, really sad and really shit. Why is someone adding me? Oh, okay. It's like one of those things where it's like, you want to be really supportive of people who get into like, who are in abusive situations, but if you repeatedly make the same mistakes over and over, at some point you also have to recognize that there's something you're doing that's putting you in a bad situation, and you need to be able to get yourself out of that. And I think that's like a lot of times, like, it's conversations we don't want to have, because it comes off as very like victim blamey, but I think there's also something to be said about like being responsible for your own safety and your own mental health. And I know it's really hard for people who've gone through like mental health problems, who go through like different issues, like it can be a really hard thing to make better decisions. But I think it's also something we need to encourage more without calling it victim blaming the minute you tell people to like, hey, how can we help you make better decisions? It's like, well, you're victim blaming. Other people shouldn't be abusive. And it's like, yeah, other people shouldn't be abusive, but like there's always going to be bad people in this world and you need to be able to look out for yourself. Yeah, anyway, there's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fuck. And I have like this I have this conversation when it comes to like dating relationships with like people around me all the time where it's like, hey, like to all my friends, it's like if you're gonna like go do hookups and stuff, like be really careful out there because there's guys who are gonna like push your boundaries, and if you're not someone who's comfortable enough, and if you're not comfortable enough with the person like you're hooking up with or that you're dating, that you can't set boundaries with them without feeling scared, you need to remove yourself from those situations and you shouldn't be engaging in those situations. Because it's like, it sucks that like you're gonna have to like make those decisions, and people shouldn't push your boundaries, but there are gonna be people who do, and I don't think we should like, because yeah, it's like, fuck. It is so hard to have these conversations because people instantly want to jump to the most extreme view of like, oh, well, people shouldn't have to worry about that. Like, people shouldn't do bad things. And it's like, yeah, people shouldn't do bad things, but people do bad things. And so in that situation, you do have to like watch out for yourself and make sure that like you're making good and safe decisions. I'm still out of space, even though I plan to get more storage than I think I'll ever need. Yeah. I'm attracted to abusive people. I'm forever single. It's not depressing for me. It's better that way. Oh, that's sad. Has this always been a thing, or is it like something that happened that like, because I know people who like go through abusive situations sometimes get caught. I mean, you don't have to talk about your abuse on stream if that's obviously going too far, but like, I know a lot of people who like, people shouldn't do bad things. Most, yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, it's fuck. I don't know if anyone here watches Vosh, but that's literally like, yeah, shut. Oh fuck. I'm gonna move this over here. Let's see if I can. There we go. I'm trying to find a better streamer setup, but I just hate my background so much. I'm trying to get a better background. Wait, what if I don't know how. I used to have a better setup than this, and now I don't. So we're dealing with it. Actually, what if I move this way? No, I don't think I like that either, but I think we're gonna leave it for now. Anyway, it's not sad for me. It's just life. With anything, if you get used to it, going outside is uncomfortable. I understand that. It's just like, it's sad like if there's things that you want to do and you can't because of like external factors or things that you're scared of. The background, I know. Okay, I actually am. I'm finally buying it. I'm looking at cameras. If anyone has actually like good cam recommendations, if anyone else streams, please send me, because I've been looking at cameras all day because everyone keeps bugging me about like how bad the camera quality is. It's a webcam, okay? I wasn't planning to stream as much as I did. It was like kind of a funny joke, haha. That when I was like back in January, I was like, I should do this because it sounds like a fun thing. And then I ended up doing it like more than I thought I was going to. And I was like, now I need a webcam because everyone comes into my stream and is like, your camera's horrible. And I'm like, thanks, I didn't notice. Logitech. Yeah, that's one of the ones I'm looking at, but I'm also very, very, very cheap and I don't have money. Well, I do have money. I just don't like spending money. So I'm looking for a cheap one. It's a webcam too. Okay. If you send me, oh shit, I don't know if I have you on anything. I just need links to stuff. I drop it in my Discord or send it to me on personal. I highly doubt people will ever stop being assholes, so take care of yourselves and stay safe, kids. Yeah, 100%. That's like the thing is like, you're always gonna have to look out for yourself, and that's the shitty reality of life, is like people aren't gonna treat you perfectly and people aren't gonna act perfectly, and like I think there needs to be more nuance around like conversations about dating and sex and like hookup culture, because I think it goes either really hardcore one way or the other. Hovers over the cancel sub button after seeing Rec 73 in high def. Fuck! See, that's like the other thing. Okay, I like, for stream, I put on like a little bit of like lip liner because my lips are like super pale, so like I don't want to look like super washed out on camera, and that's all I put on, and I'm like, if I get a better camera, am I gonna look super fucking ugly the minute that I turn it on? I don't want to deal with that, okay? That was like one of those things where I'm like, if I just keep the shitty camera, people can't see how ugly I am. I was like, God, that sounded so sad. I think that's the one I have. That is C930 or C920. Yeah, I've heard a lot about the C920, I think was like one of the ones I was looking at. So I'll think about that one. But there's a couple of cheaper ones I found that like are like $60, 40 to 60, and I'm like, maybe I'll buy one of those just because I'm that cheap. Look, man, it's the Indian blood, okay? I'm cheap. I was raised cheap. I'll always be cheap. So if I can get a good deal on something. Anyway, yeah, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, just safety around stuff. I think like this is like something I've talked about before on my channel. It's something I'm really passionate about. But like the dating and hookup and sex culture has gotten really toxic because people are either adamantly like against hookups and like no one should ever do it, it's bad for you and stuff like that, and people go extremely one way, or on the extreme other side of like everyone should do hookups and it's all okay, and like, you know, hookups are great and good for everybody. But it's like, don't send a false message to people, because A, hookups aren't for everyone, and B, hookups come with a lot of responsibility. It's like, we want all this freedom to do what we want and like engage with your body in the way you want, and you should have that right in every capacity to do what you want with your body. But it also comes with the responsibility of engaging in those situations, and like especially when it comes to like having another person in that engagement, you need to be responsible for yourself and that other person. And you also should know that there's like the risks of like engaging in those situations. I'm 43. The range of what looks attractive to is rather wide. However, I'm not here for your appearance. I do like the joke around. I love comedy. I know sometimes I feel like that though, because it's like one of those things, like being a female streamer and stuff like that. I was like, I have to look like decent on camera, otherwise I'm scared I'm not gonna get engagement. But you know, it happens. I try to look like half decent, but again, with a shitty webcam, it's not that hard. Oh my god, I keep like, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if anyone has input on that, because I think it's like one of those things that's like, it's something I talk about a lot, but I feel like so many people don't know. Either like the people I talk to are like on those extreme ends, where it's like either like, because I have a lot of right-wing viewers who are like really against hookup and hookup culture, or I have a lot of like extreme left-wing people who it's like the minute you say like, hey, there's risks and responsibilities that come along with these practices, they'll be like, it's instantly called victim blaming, and I'm like, neither one of these positions is good. Like, not everything is victim blaming, and not everything is bad just because you're engaging in sex. Like, nuanced conversations, please more nuance. But like, no one wants to engage with me like that. I had someone go off on me in my, oh god, Brady's gonna love this. Brady, I was talking about the student debt forgiveness stuff on my channel like a week ago. That's why you're the nuanced channel. I try to be like, yeah. There was like a guy who came in, and I was talking about like how stupid student debt relief is, and he got really mad at me, and then he sent me an 18-paragraph message on my DMs calling me stupid and calling me manipulated by my chat. And I was like, I'm gonna find this person's look. No, I wasn't gonna do that. I'm not saying anything about crimes on stream. But I was like, oh my god, like this person just went off on me in the DMs, and I was like, I'm sorry I called your idea stupid. Like, but it was like 18 messages long. Like, I just kept scrolling. And I was like, I called him stupid like once or twice for his ideas because they were stupid, because I think student debt forgiveness is stupid. And then he sent me like, he also went off on Veldrain, because apparently he doesn't like Veldrain either, because apparently they've had past interactions. So Veldrain got the heat on that one too. It's okay. But like, it was like one of those things, was like the first time, and this person has come into my chat before. Like, I've talked to this person on my stream before. Like, they were a follower, and they were someone that I had like probably decent interactions with, and then they like freaked out on me, and I was like, I expected it with the territory of like the internet, of like being on the internet, but it was like, it was such an intense message. And it's like, I don't care if people send hate at me. I don't care about like sexual comments. I don't care about any of that shit. It doesn't bug me. But the one comment that got to me was like, you're being manipulated by your right-wing chat, and you're changing your opinions to like appease them. And I'm like, I am a strong, independent woman. I have my own opinions. I very much think about all of my opinions. I I think about these things before I say them. I like for you to sit there and say I'm being manipulated by my chat to have these opinions. I was angry. I was so fucking angry. Like, oh my god, that like actual comment got to me so much more than anything else. I mean, if it's at least he can back them up logically, but 18 paragraphs. Yeah, like that's the thing is like he just got mad that I called his idea stupid and then just basically went off on me for like another 18 messages. It wasn't even like he was defending his position. He just if it was 18 paragraphs of him like defending like, you know, a full like analysis of like why I defend this position, that would have been fine. But like I don't know. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Haha, true. I mean, as a policy for fixing the real problem, it is stupid. I still want it purely selfish. Understandable. But at least like that's the thing is like you can at least like sit there and be like, I want it for selfish reasons because like I have student debt and I would like it, right? I totally respect that position because most people it's like I don't want to pay like that's a lot of fucking money and I don't want to sit there and pay it and like to me as an emotional response I can understand that like not wanting to pay the student debt. But like if we're talking about like an actual policy position of what like should be passed in legislation and what Biden should actually do about the student debt problem, student debt forgiveness is not like the policy that I would advocate for in any way, and I don't think you would either. And I think, yeah, we talked about that even on stream like last time, is like it isn't something you'd advocate for. It's something like purely out of like this is something I want. It'd be really nice. Most leftists that go into politics sector of Twitch really don't like me. I'm banned from a bunch of streams. I'm banned from exactly one stream, but again, it's like one of those things that I was talking about earlier with you and Brady. I don't like comment in people's streams. I don't talk in other people's streams except for like Brady and Ed's stream. Like on that channel, I'll talk because like I like having conversations with you guys. But every other stream I go into, I just don't talk because like I like to watch and like listen, but I don't want to get into it with people. I don't like having like discussions through comments on the internet. That's why I don't post on social media and stuff either, because it's like it's not worth it to engage in like a comment section with people, and I just don't do it. But that's probably why I'm not banned from anything. I got banned from one stream, and that was only because I followed a different streamer that streamer didn't like, so they banned everyone from that streamer's chat, and I didn't know I was banned, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why. There are some leftist streams where I just agreed not to return. It's too disruptive for the stream. Yeah, fair enough. I don't mind being disruptive with people here. That's 100% of my desire for it. Would be happy to ditch my own student debt, but it's not going to solve the core issue in the long term. Yeah. Some people are... Brady and I have experience with comment sections. I heard you talking about it earlier on your stream with, like, the person getting really mad about your analysis of a certain anime. I heard you talking about that on stream earlier. I was, like, getting ready for my stream when I was, like, listening in, and I was like, what? People are crazy. They leave yeah, like, that's the thing. It's, like, I don't... What goes through a person's head to, like, sit there and write, like, that much messaging, like, getting mad at strangers on the internet? Like, I've never understood that mentality. And I understand, like... Actually, no, this is, like, one thing. Like, I could probably understand someone, like, doing something like, you know, I can imagine someone committing murder before I sit there. Like, I would... I'm not gonna say that on stream, never mind. That's gonna sound terrible. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's, like, I just can't imagine sitting there and writing, like, 18 paragraphs to, like, a person I don't know about something they said in their video. Right? Like, is that a crazy take? I don't think that's that crazy of a take. Maybe that's just me, though. Also, oh god, I gotta move my tiny fridge. I have a tiny fridge in the corner. Oh, it's behind my chair. Okay. I brought it into my room to keep my water cold, and then I left it in the corner, and I didn't turn it on, and my water's warm now, so it's good. I leave my water behind my computer. My computer fan is going really hard, and now I have hot water. I have hot lemon water, which is gross. Hold on. It's actually tiny. Like, it's like that little. It's a little Coca-Cola bear. I got it from somebody else. It's very cute, but I just totally forgot to turn it on. If people who have nothing to do with their lives, so yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, I'm like, but it's like, I know people, like, who have done this, like, I'm sure these people, like, have jobs and have other things going on in their lives. What is, like, what possesses you to, even if you don't have anything else going on in your life, what possesses you to do that? Especially when they think they know you as an individual, say, I'm disappointed in you. Yeah, right? It's like, this person was, like, talking about it, like, being, like doing a whole psychoanalysis of me in their 18 paragraphs to me, and I was like, Like, the whole thing, like, that's why that manipulation, like, comment out of anything got more to me than anything else, because it was, like, the whole thing of, like, you're being manipulated by your chat, and I'm like, you don't fucking know me. Like, I've been streaming for 3 months, and, like, I've said the same positions. Like, I've had pretty much the same positions for the last 3 months, and even before that. So, like, I've had these positions for quite a while. These aren't new things. Like, you don't know what my positions are. You don't know what I'm like outside of stream. So, like, how are you going to sit there and analyze and be like, you're being manipulated by chat? How would you have any idea what my positions are otherwise without the chat being there? You wouldn't. So, I've been called every Israelism simply for disagreeing. To quote Jesse Lee Peters, that's amazing. Yeah. That's like, I've had people come in and, like, call me, like, terms, and I'm like, I'm a leftist, and I'm just trying to, like, build a bridge between people who might not, like, be fully on board with, like, left-wing ideas and people who are on, like, the far left, because I think, like political radicalization online has gotten really, really intense. So, like, you have people who are far left and far right, and there's, like, very little people left in the middle, and, like, people who are in the middle are, like, politically homeless, and I'm like, I want to build a bridge to, like, these people, because I think you can get a lot of the people who feel, like, politically homeless or feel like they can't connect to anybody else on the political spectrum, and, like, get them to, like, have better ideas by just, like, giving them a little bit more of a nuanced take and be like, here's, like, some good ideas, like, and that's kind of where I sit. But then a lot of people who are, like, farther left than me call me, like, a right-winger for that, and I don't know, that really bugs me, because no one knows what these things mean anymore. And when people say me or Ed would be a bad therapist because they don't like our take on anime, yeah, oh my god, I remember you guys talking about one of the first streams I ever came in on, you guys were talking about that, and I was like, people are wild. People are, people, like, will say the craziest stuff and just be like, oh, yeah, you, like, because I disagree with you, you'd be bad at your job? Like, okay. Great take. I'm sure you have great relationships if you, like, this is how you behave on stream. Like, that's, like, the same level. It's like, you could sit here and be like, I'm going to be a bad psychologist because you disagree with my takes. Like, would it be okay if I turned around and told you you're going to have bad relationships because you can't engage with people on stream? Like, no, that'd be stupid. Because I don't know you. We call out red flags, and they take that personally. Yeah. Well, to be fair, anime has a lot of red flags. Like, you can also enjoy stuff and still call it the red flags in it. Like, there's, like, I think every show you watch or every, like, piece of media you interact with has, like, red flags or, like, things that aren't good. And it's okay to call out those things without saying, like, the whole show is, like, you know, garbage and you shouldn't watch this shit. Like, it's like, you still enjoy anime, but it's okay to call out the bad parts of anime when they exist. Like, yo, you've never seen like, what we're like as therapists? Yeah. And even Ed was talking about it on stream one day, is like, you guys don't use therapist language, like, not in the way that you would in a therapy, like, session. You guys don't use that type of language or that type of behavior on your streams because it wouldn't be appropriate. But it's like, so you, like, have it, like, none of us have actually seen you guys as, like, actual therapist settings. We've seen you as, like, pop therapist on your stream, like, as, like bringing in your education into a streamer setting, but it's not bringing a stream into your educational setting, if that makes sense. All right, like, right? Come on, Brady. Can't you see that love gurus and pickup artists are people we should listen to and not therapists? Of course. Obviously. Oh my god. Fucking the pickup artist on YouTube. That was like a... I want to do some, like, reviews of the pickup artist stuff online, just because, again, like, one of my big topics I talk about on stream is, like, dating, relationships, and, like, hookup culture. And that's something that I'm, like, pretty passionate about, because I think that's something that affects a lot of people's lives, like, constantly. And I think, like, most people could go, even, like, I'm not super well educated, like, in, like, relationship advice and stuff like that, obviously, but I think I, like, could even give, like, the average person just, like, a little bit better advice to, like, engage in, like, these things in a little bit of a healthier way. And I think even if I can do that little bit for people, it's probably a good thing. I would like to engage with you with a direct compliment now. Please don't mind the hidden camera. Jesus, yeah. Japan isn't the US. They aren't into political tribalism like the US. The content creators aren't just Yeah, but, like, even with that, like, the problem is, like, saying, like, Japan isn't, like, into tribal politics. It's not even about that. It's, like, some of the things that, like, is presented in anime could be really detrimental, not even to, like, just, like, our, like, different culture in the US, but just even cultures in general. Like, if you're depicting, like, a 5-year-old looking child, and this is, like, one thing that I think me and Ed were talking about a little while back, but it's, like, if you're depicting, like, a child that looks like 5 years old, but you're like, they're 10,000 years old, and then put them in like a romantic sexual setting in the anime, that's probably not a good thing, because now you're depicting like people having sex with like a character that looks 5 years old, right? And that's probably not okay to do, even if you're in Japan or in the US. Like, that's right. Yeah, these are yeah. Do a review pickup artist. Yeah, I think I might for next stream, and I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow or Sunday. Actually, it might not be this weekend just because I have like a research paper due. But I think next week I'm gonna try to get like a bunch of videos together and react to them, because the pickup artist people are like actually crazy. Like, pickup artists treat women like they're like a like Rubik's cube. You know what I mean? And like you just have to turn the right knobs to get to the answer, and like that's like what it feels like watching pickup artist videos. Like, you're trying to solve a Rubik's cube, and that's like, that is how you treat every social interaction you've ever had. On stream, we're at most advocates talking in terms of education. Yeah, exactly. Attack on Titan was made by fascists. I've seen people go nuts about it without understanding it's different. It's a different culture. Wait, what? Also, I don't like people throwing around the word fascist, just because I don't think most people use that term correctly. But yeah, Japan does have pedo laws didn't have pedo laws until recently. Very famous was arrested a couple of years ago because they had CP on their PC. Yeah. I mean, but even, and like people always bring up like, I think this is something, again, I think Ed talked about, we were talking about this like last stream or a couple streams back, but like it's this whole thing of like saying like, oh, like the culture's different, like, you know, there's younger consent laws, and it's like, yeah, but even in a place where there's younger consent laws, you don't see a bunch of 30-year-olds dating like people at the like age of like, you know, 14, just because the consent is lower there. Like, even in Japan, it's not normalized for that big of an age gap. It just isn't. Like, it's normalized in media and like the things that we see sometimes, but even if you go to Japan, like, I don't think most people that are like 40 years old trying to date like people who just passed the age of consent, because even there, I don't think that's like a normal thing to do. It's just the fact that their consent laws are lower. Like, yeah, I think people like over like simplified, like, oh, like it's such a different culture, and it's like, yeah, but even in that culture, that stuff isn't normalized. It's just normalized sometimes in media, like anime. As one of the pickup artists, we talked about it, it's a game and there's cheat codes. Yikes, don't like that. And the thing is, every pickup artist, anyone who's, okay, I don't know how many girls are in the chat right now. If you've ever been approached by a guy who watches pickup artists, you know they're a guy who watches pickup artists, because it's the most obvious shit ever. If you are a dude and watch pickup artists, trust me when I say every girl you talk to either gets weird vibes or immediately knows that you watch pickup artists. Because like, you having an interaction like that, it feels so structured and so fucking like, you're not having a conversation with that person. You are having a dialogue that they've already pre-scripted in their head. Like, there's a script that they're going down because this is what they learned in the video, and like they are following that to a T, and they are like, they're not engaging with you. They're just like, they're following their script to try to like hit all the right codes to like input to get sex. Like, that is literally what it feels like talking to somebody like, I've talked to people who watch, and it was like, they didn't even have to tell me they watch pickup artists. It's like, you immediately knew they watch pickup artists. It was the most obvious thing I'd ever felt in my life. So yeah, it's kind of funny because these pickup artists are like, oh, we're so good with women. And I will tell you right now, the reason most of these pickup artists are good with women is probably because they're good looking. And I said this in Ed and Ed's chat earlier, and I think I was gonna say it in a lot more inflammatory way, but I just didn't want to get people on that chat a little bit heated about that topic. But I'll say it on my stream, obviously. Guys who are good looking can get away with a lot more than guys who are ugly, and you should have done. I know, I don't want your community to hate me, okay? I'll say crazy shit on my own stream, fucking. But guys who are good looking, if you're a really hot dude, you will get away with so much more stuff. I was gonna say this in chat, but like again, it was like one of those things that was too inflammatory. A really hot dude, like a 10 out of 10 dude, and a 5 out of 10 dude can approach you in the same way, like with the exact same line in the exact same manner. And one guy will be seen as creepy, and one guy will be seen as like, oh my god, like so cute. Like, and it's literally just because one guy is way better looking. And that's the unfortunate truth of like, oh wow, yeah, sad truth of the world. Literally how it is, like a lot of girls just feel that way because it's like, I think it's okay to acknowledge that humans are visual creatures to an extent. And so even for women, it's like you feel a little bit more like less creeped out by the guy who's really attractive because your brain's already attracted to that person, so it doesn't feel weird when they approach you in a flirty manner. But someone you're not attracted to, you're going to perceive as more creepy because you're not wanting flirtatious engagement from them, right? And so it's one of those really things, like hard things to like navigate, especially if you are a less attractive person, which is unfortunate. But again, that was like the other thing I said was like, it's really easy. If you are a level 5 dude, it's probably really easy to go from 5 to a 7.5 with like a few basic things. Get a nicer haircut, get a decent wardrobe, put on like a nice cologne. Like these are like simple things you can do. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. It's like one of those things that's like really simple to do, but it can like take your like perceived deodorant. Yeah, exactly, right? Like these are like, there's so many things. And like, I think a lot of women will say that this is not true. And I think most girls just don't want to admit that it is something that we do. But like, again, obviously I'm a woman and there's a lot of women I know, but it's like, they will, they will all agree that it's like, if a really hot guy approaches you in a way that like, is flirtatious, you're more likely to be accepting of that than like if an ugly guy approaches, like a like semi-ugly guy. I don't want to call anyone ugly because it's mean, but there are ugly people out there. I'm sorry. But like if you're like a not attractive looking dude and you approach the girl in the exact same way, you're more likely to get denied or called a creep just because like you're not as attractive, especially like if it's in a situation that's like unconventional. If you're at a bar, you're probably a little bit more okay because most people expect to like be hit on or flirt at bars. And like at that point, like even if you're like less attractive, it's like it's okay because like I think most people are expecting, like especially at like clubs, bars, like these are places where you're mingling with new people and expecting to like kind of get hit on. But like if you like, here's the big one. Here's one of the big ones. Girls will always say don't hit on her at work, right? Like this is like a big thing where girls are like, we don't want to be hit on at work, we just want to do our job. But if you're a girl at work and you see the hot guy walk into your like cafe or whatever, you want him to hit on you at the like, I'm sorry, like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if like most people, you probably don't want hitting on you at work, but it's like if a hot guy walks into the bar or into like the coffee shop and like you're like gonna be the one at the register, you're like kind of hoping that he says something because you're like, he's really cute. And it's like it's sad because it's like one of those things that you can't you can't control very much, and it's like the sad truth of the world. But I think it's also like one of those things that you can't let like black pill you too much, because like just because it's like initial interactions aren't always going to be as good, it doesn't mean that like just because you're a less attractive dude you're never going to get any, because like it goes the other way where guys then will be like, oh, because I'm a 5, like I'm never going to get any, and then they become incels because they're like, oh, women all suck and they just want 10s and like I'll never be able to get some. It's like, no, there's still girls that you can go for and like have a good rapport with, and then it just might mean you have to put a little bit more into like your personality, having good social skills, and like you can then approach a woman and like have a decent conversation and you might get to know her, and then like it might be like a slower thing, but like you're just gonna have to find other ways to like engage with women that aren't pickup artists. Don't turn to pickup artists. That is the worst thing you can do. Oh shit, it's 1 a.m. for you? Oh wait, are we in the same time zone? I did not know that. I don't know why I thought you guys were in a different time zone, but maybe not. No, okay, wait, I think you actually told me where you're at. The difference between kinky and depraved is consent. A hot guy is kinky, an average looking guy. Well, no, that's like, not even that. It's like, that's usually for like the bedroom. Like if like, the difference is like literally just consent in that situation. Like if you like, even like if you're hooking up with a guy that you might not think is that attractive, but you set the terms of like, hey, this is stuff I don't want to do, then like that's stuff you don't want to do. Like at that point, like kinky and depraved is just, it's a whole consent thing. That's it. Like at that point, you're just setting the boundaries for like what you're okay with. I think the saddest thing is all these guys pay $5K for a seminar on pickup artists but don't address their self-esteem issues. Yeah, I heard you talking about this on your stream as well. I think that's like the biggest thing is like people want like the easy quick fix, and they think dropping $5K for a seminar will fix all their issues. But it's like that's like your real issue isn't coming from your ability to like socially engage with people. It's like your social engagement issues don't come from like your lack of skill. It comes from like a deeper issue of like self-esteem. It's like you need to like work on yourself and be comfortable with yourself before you're ever open to like having good social interactions with other people. Monkey brain, yeah. You can be charming. Oops. You can be charming without being very attractive. 100%. There is 100% guys that I've met where I'm like, they like initially I wasn't that attracted to them, but after time it's like you see like the way they behave, the way they act. It's like, oh, I remember like one of the first guys that hit on me in university. It was like he was like, I would say like a 7.5, but the way he approached me, I was like, he was an instant 10. Like he was so cute to me after that because he was just so charming. Like he was like one of those guys that was very charismatic, like, you know, carried himself really well, like and like the way he like approached me and like talked to me, like he was really sweet, like very charming dude, like oh my god, like, and that can make all the difference. Like just have that, like he was so confident, and that will like make all the fucking difference. So it's like that whole thing of like he had good self-esteem, and like I think that can do so much for a person when it comes to engaging with people, because again, like the guy was like a 7.5, but just the way he engaged was like, oh my god, like you could like make a girl swoon so easily by just being like, just being a normal human and like engaging and like, yeah, Brady, 100%. Charming is like, you do not have to be attractive to be charming. I was in another time zone before, now I'm in y'all's. Oh, that's all right. Okay. Yeah, because you just moved. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay, makes me feel a little bit better because I feel bad when I'm like talking to people. I used to do a stream with this guy named Sin, and like he was 2 hours ahead of me, and we would start streaming at like 9 p.m. my time, which was like 11 p.m. for him, so it was super late, and I felt really bad because but he like stayed up all night, so it was okay. But I still feel really bad when people are like wildly different time zone and I'm keeping them up for like 2 hours past bedtime. It also comes from lack of access to quality education. When it comes to dating and flirting, I don't know. Well, maybe somewhat, but like I think like socialization comes from like a lot of other places that isn't necessarily like just educational, right? Like I think school in general, like that's like the whole thing. Like I have a big problem with homeschooling. We're going through so many topics tonight. I have a big problem with homeschooling because I think so many kids, like when you're homeschooled, especially if you're like homeschooled individually or just with siblings, you lose out on a lot of like the really like other important aspects from school that aren't just your education, right? Like you get an education at school, but you also learn social skills. You learn how to like interact with other people, how to work with other people. Like these are all big skills that you learn, especially in like primary school and the elementary school, that like are super important. And like it doesn't necessarily come from having to like have the best education, but just being able to interact with other people. Simple rules: don't stink. 2, pick up on subtle hints, and 3, know who you can attract. You'll more likely always be banging than not. Yeah, I think that second one is like the biggest thing. Be able to pick up on social cues, and I know that's harder for certain people, and like I know there's like obviously like, you know, if you have certain like disorders, that can be hard to pick up on social cues. But I think being like able to like even just learn basic social cues is like really important, because you'll be instantly aware if like a girl or guy is like into you or not, or if they're pulling away, right? Because like there's times where like girls get stuck in situations talking to a guy, like, and I've obviously been with friends. I'm talking about like from a woman's side mostly, because like obviously I'm a girl and I like talk to my girlfriends about this. But like it's one of those things where you sometimes get like, yes, insert meme about men's and hit, yeah. But it's like one of those things where girls will get into situations and like you cannot get off because the guy like keeps talking. You don't want to seem rude and walk away and all this type of stuff. So if you're like a dude and you can tell the girl's kind of like pulling away or not that interested, learn how to kind of read a social situation and be able to like be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like go get a drink, like I'll see you later or whatever, right? Like know how to like bow out like nicely. Don't pursue past like the means, because like sometimes guys will be like, if I like, and again, this is like a big problem with pickup artists, is like if you just keep going, like she'll eventually say yes, she'll eventually go home with you, she'll eventually like get into you and stuff like that, because they like it's like this whole idea of like push. But it's like, no, if you push like once or twice and you're not getting a reciprocation, just bow out like nicely, you know, just you save your ego, you save the girl, like the whole situation just turns out better if you just like learn how to like read a simple cue and be like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna bow out, this person's obviously not into it, I'm just gonna go somewhere else and try my luck another time, right? Like I don't know, like there's no harm in that, but like pickup artists will make you believe that like, you can get her there, you just have to push enough. And it's like, no, don't do that. Girls hate that shit. Like, and you feel like as a woman so uncomfortable in that situation because like you're being pushed and pushed and pushed and you don't know how to like leave that situation, especially if you don't have like people around and you don't want to like get into a situation with like that person. And a lot of girls, like a lot of times we just don't want to seem rude. Like I think most people have that thing where like if you're talking to someone, you don't want to like seem rude to them because you feel bad. Like, and that doesn't even just go for like dating or like sometimes even just regular social situations. Like someone's talking in a group and they've been talking for a long time and you don't want to tell them to shut up even though you really want to tell them to shut up because you just don't want to be rude to them. And it's the same thing with like those social like flirty situations where like a guy like might just be pushing, and like you're just too awkward and too uncomfortable to like bow out because you just don't want to seem rude, because you don't want to make the person feel bad, because it's like human, like you don't want to make people feel bad. Some people just can't take rejection. Yeah, that's the other thing. I think there's a lot of times where girls also get scared because like we've heard so many horror stories of bad things happening, where you're like, if I walk away, are you gonna like grab me by my hair and slam me into the counter or something like that? Like that's always a scary thought. And I like luckily didn't have to go through a lot of that just because I don't go out to like clubs and bars, and like I don't get hit on anywhere other than school, so we're okay. But like I do know a lot of women who went through shit like that, so it can be a little bit harder in that situation. Even though it came from a hypergamy-oriented stream, it made sense. Listening is important, but what are they doing? Are they pulling away? Are they coming to you? Do they follow you? Are you... Yeah, exactly. Like, just like those little social cues of like being able to like understand, like, even like mild touch, like people will say this a lot, but like if like a girl's like kind of touchy with you, it's usually a pretty good indication. Obviously, don't take that as a consent of like trying to like put your hand up their skirt, but like it's probably an indication for you to keep chatting them up. Like if a girl's kind of like leaning in, if they're leaning out, and again, I'm talking about it from the women's position. I think guys probably do similar things if they're into you, but like for a girl, like if like, you know, if they're like willing to touch you, if they're kind of leaning in, if they're like very interested and stuff like that, like it's usually pretty easy to tell if people are interested or not, or engaged or not, right? Like it's not a hard thing to do, but like just be aware of it when you're like flirting with somebody, because it's really easy to like get caught up in like the situation and not understand whether like the situation is going well or not, because you're just so focused on like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to do next? How do I get this girl to like me? And again, that's like this big thing the pickup artists sell is like, oh, if you just keep pushing, if you just go down our dialogue tree, if you just keep going, like if you do exactly what we tell you, if you go down exactly these steps, she'll go home with you. And like some people get really caught up in that idea. What's up? I don't love him. Oh, hello. I don't love him. What's up? It's good. We're just talking about dating and, you know, hookup culture and all that type of stuff. Like if you can thrive with rejection, you're already winning. Yeah, 100%. I think, I mean, rejection is hard anytime, but if you know how to like roll with rejection, I think that's like the best skill you can pick up. If you have to keep on tracking down a guy to find them, either one, they're busy, or two, they just aren't that into you. Yeah. Yep, 100%. Like just know when to pull back. And especially even like if you're talking to someone, if like you're having like a, like let's say you have a situationship and this person is like kind of leading you on, kind of backing off. Like some people will like be like, oh no, like they're like into me, they're just not that like, they don't have that much time. It's like, no, that person's probably talking to like 7 other people, just let it go. Sorry to anyone who's in that situation, but like if that person isn't making enough time to even like talk to you like mildly, they just don't care enough. It's not worth your time. You say it's easy to tell, and it can be, but the concerningly high views on those YouTube channels makes me think romantic literacy is super low out there. Yeah, you know what? That's kind of the scary thing, is like the fact that like it's gotten to the point where like people don't know how to interact with each other. Like guys with girls, I mean, I see it a lot because obviously like there's the whole incel communities and stuff like that, but it's like sometimes it feels like people just don't know how to interact with like other humans in like a comfortable, normal human manner. And it's like, dang, like when did we, I mean, obviously courting used to be a much bigger thing, so like it was a much more structured situation to like meet someone, and like the dating scene was much more structured, which sucked. But like now it's like this whole thing of like it's so open that it's like really hard for people to navigate, and I think people like just do not know how to like interact. I think some people do take the playful touching or soft signs as interest as total consent for everything else, which completely, yeah, that's the thing, is like it's so hard. Like these conversations are so complex and nuanced, and everyone wants to turn them into like a black and white conversation. If they do this, do this. If you do this, do this. Like if they do this, don't do that. Like people want to turn it into such a black and white thing, but you have to have a really good conversation about like how these interactions should go, and that it's much more nuanced. But it's always like this thing of like, oh, you should never touch a girl without her asking and stuff. But it's like if you're flirting and you kind of like put your hand on her arm to like kind of test the limits, I think that's okay. Like if the person kind of seems engaged, but like you have to like, this is going to sound really bad, and I don't know how else to put it without it sounding so bad. But like there is times when you're flirting or interacting or dating in a relationship or any of these situations where you're going to have to test boundaries, because you're not going to ask for every situation, but you need to know how to responsibly test those boundaries. And I don't know So like when it comes to like sexual situations, you might be like, especially if it's someone you're comfortable with, it's a little bit easier because you can kind of like push for things or see like, hey, are you into this and stuff like that. It's a little bit easier to kind of test those boundaries. But even when it comes to like mild flirting situations, like if they like, if you're flirting with someone and like you're kind of like leaning in, like if you put your hand on their arm or whatever and like they don't pull away, that's probably a decent sign. But if they like, right, like these are like little things, but like you have to be able to like cautiously approach and like engage with these situations, and it can be really hard to navigate even that stuff. They give you a sip, they want the whole bottle instantly. Yeah. God, this is like a much longer conversation. Actually, I'd love to have like you or Ed, Brady or Ed come on for like a conversation about on this, because I think like the nuance around like dating and situationships and flirting and all this type of stuff is so much more complex, and it's like something that I would love to like flesh out with somebody. But I think like you probably know where I'm coming from, like this whole idea of like, I don't want to say like don't push boundaries obviously, but I don't know how like to explain what I'm trying to say here. But just like, yeah, like I think like it's that push and pull, because it's like it's not a game that you're playing with the person, but it's a push and pull. Like when you're flirting, you have to kind of go back and forth with the person to know how that engagement goes. And like as that push and pull goes, it's like you're kind of getting further and further. So like you might start here, right? Like you have this much wiggle room when you're starting a flirting like conversation with someone you're flirting with, right? You have like this much wiggle room because you're just starting, so you don't really know what your limits are. And then as that push and pull goes back and forth, right? Like you start to like that like limit starts to go like a little bit more open, because you start to like know the person better. You might know what they like, what they don't like, and like you start to like that push and pull expands the range of like what you can engage in at that point. Yeah, that's like the best way I can explain it. Call it energy scent. Yeah. Yeah. Just, yeah, understand the situation you're in, right? I don't know why I keep drinking this. It tastes really bad. Like if I'm sending you energy or something and you don't send it back, then don't keep sending that energy through, or motivation. Read the room, nonverbals and the verbal. Yeah. I mean, this is like, I think we see jokes about this on social media all the time, but like guys who will send you like 50 DMs. It's like you'll get like a DM from a guy and be like, hey, what's up? And then like if you don't reply, it's like, okay, you're you're a stupid fucking cunt, like no one likes you anyway. And it's like, you messaged me. How did like me just not message you back for a day, now all of a sudden I'm a stupid fucking cunt? Like, I think every girl has probably dealt with that message at least once, where like a guy will message you, hit you up in the DMs, and you're just not interested, so you don't respond. And they'll like send you a couple nice messages, and then you don't respond for a day, and then they're like jumping down your throat, like you're like and just calling you the nastiest shit. And it's like, Jesus, like just take the rejection nicely and like bow out of the DMs. But no, they like, it's not like, yeah, I don't know. No one knows how to take rejection. I think you or Brady said it best earlier. People only do what they want to do. Example, why won't they text me back whenever I text them? They don't want to. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Fuck. Oh my god. Yep. I don't know. These things are like so hard to talk about, but I would like actually like, I think if I had like, maybe I'll do it with like people in my chat, or like with Ed and Brady. I would love to like have you guys on to like do a chat. Maybe like we can set that up for next week. But I think this would be really really interesting situation to talk more about. Because I think it's like, especially like I think so many of our viewers are young and around our ages, and like they're going through these situations actively. Like I have a little bit of like somewhat of an older audience just because of like the political stuff I do, but I do have a lot of people who are my age or sometimes younger. And I think like a lot of them don't ever have these conversations of like how to engage in these situations. So it can be really hard to learn about these things. I think having like a healthy like conversation on stream where people can like listen to those ideas, at least would help them like navigate these things better, not send them off to like the stupid, dating advice idiots online. People have this weird egocentric view when people aren't texting back. Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, Jesus. I mean, I've had those DMs before where it's like the guy will DM you like, that's like such a common thing. and people get really like pissed. I mean, I think on dating apps it was also really common. That was like one of the places where it happened. And like dating apps, like, don't get me wrong, dating apps can be really fun, but dating apps can also be super shitty. Like at times, like I mostly had good experiences, but there was always like the once in a while thing where like, if you know you were having like, because like dating apps, you kind of like cycle through people. It's not like you sometimes you send one or two messages back and forth, and then the conversation dies out, and you move on to the next person, and it happens. But there were some people who would get really pissed off if like you let that conversation die. They're like, oh, like was I not important enough and stuff like that. Like I thought we had something good going. And it's like, dude, like you're on a dating app. Like people cycle through, and it just happens. Like sometimes you just don't have the connection off the bat, and you're like, all right, whatever, next one. It can be like a really hard thing not to take to heart. Especially if maybe you're someone who has less messages. I mean, maybe it's different for girls because girls like on dating apps tend to do a lot better. I mean, statistically. So maybe that's like a different viewpoint. Maybe like for any of the guys in chat can like give a better perspective from like if you've been on dating apps. But yeah, shit, that's a interesting one to navigate. One thing that's true about life, everyone is an expert when talking about the relationship of others. They can navigate most complex mazes with ease. When it comes to your own relationships, your maze is a straight line and you immediately take a left into a wall and get stuck. Honestly, what a true thing. I mean, that's like why like people always encourage, like when you have a situation going on in life, it's always good to talk to other people because other people will give you a better understanding of your own situation than you ever could. Because like having that like outside perspective, like that third point of view, sometimes like of a situation from like both sides, and like being able to see like a broader scape than just like who's like you being immediately in it can help a lot. But like I think so many people, it's like people who give like really good relationship advice but always have the shittiest relationships. It's like you give such good relationship advice, how are your relationships always so bad? It's like these people are like really good at like navigating like everything else, because when you can see the whole situation from an external perspective, it's really easy to navigate it. But as soon as you get into the situation, you're like, yeah, you take a left right into the wall. All the young people in here walks out leaning on his cane. Yeah. Literally. Okay, that's the thing. Okay. I felt so stupid. Okay, sorry, this is like a really weird tangent, but when I stream, sometimes I feel really stupid because it's like, I'll be like talking about all this legal stuff and politics stuff that I'm like super passionate about. And then everyone in my chat is like 40 and I'm like, I am a 22-year-old preaching to a bunch of like people who are in their 30s and 40s about like legal stuff and politics. And I'm like, now I feel like a fucking idiot. I don't know if anyone else has had that. I don't know like how many of you guys are streamers or if you've ever had that situation, but I'm like, never mind. Yeah, it's not a job interview. Don't force people to give you so much critique feedback. Yeah. Shit. Okay. I will tell y'all one of the best experiences, one of the best things I ever did. It's gonna sound super weird. I had like a friends with benefits kind of okay. I don't know how to explain the situation. I met this guy in university who I thought was really hot, and like I hooked up with him. Not to mention this was like the first time I ever hooked up with anyone. Okay, I like had never had sex ever, so I like met this guy in university and I knew him for like 3.5 weeks and I hooked up with him. We've been best friends ever since. It's this whole thing. But it's like one of those times, if you want like really good feedback on like flirting or things you do, become friends with somebody you've like hooked up with and they will give you like feedback. Like me and him after that was like 3 months after being friends, like we'll talk and he's like, is there things I could have done better? And like you had that conversation and like he's like, dang, that actually taught me so much. It's like a really weird tip. If you ever have that situation where you can do that at some point in your life, do it. Okay? I encourage safely, but I encourage it. Anyway, weird little side tangent story. But that was like one of the best like feedbacks when it came to like flirting and like dating that I ever had, was like when I like ended up best friends with someone that I had a situation like that with, and then like you could give each other feedback after. Sorry, Brady's comment just like set that memory off in my brain. Yes, and also toys are your friends, not your competition. True. Communication feedback is so important. Yeah, and especially if you can do it in a way that's like not like super pressure. Like, you know when like sometimes like you're trying to actually get into a relationship, it could be a lot of pressure. But if you've had like someone that like things didn't work out with, that you stay friends with, like, and you feel comfortable with that person, like have that conversation with them. It's like, hey, was there things, or like even an ex, like some people stay friends with their exes, and people over demonize that. I will say that right now. There's times where you can break up with an ex and it's totally fine to stay friends with them because things just ended like, oh, like it wasn't the right relationship. I am totally fine. Like if I dated someone who was friends with their ex, I would not care. As long as obviously the relationship ended healthily and stuff like that, and like, you know, it wasn't a whole thing. But if you like, one of the best things you can do is get feedback from someone you were already with and like know how to improve yourself for like future relationships, whether it be sexual situations, whether it be flirting, whether it be like how you communicate in a relationship. If you ever have that chance to like have that conversation with somebody, do it. It's just interesting having new perspectives, to be honest, but advice from older people is always welcome. Yeah. We found toys dating back to the toy. Wait, really? 20,000 years ago? Shit. Dang. Prehistoric. I'm sure they were like, you know, just long rods of rock, but it's still crazy. I can't imagine the affection people used to get probably, though, doing shit like that. That's crazy. People are horny. I mean, yeah, true. What can you do? Okay, what a fun stream. I think I'm actually gonna end up like wrapping up stream like kind of in like the next 10 minutes just because like it is getting late and I have more papers to write and more stuff to do, but I want to stream tonight. I want to have a good time, and like, oh my god, I ended up having a lot more people in here than I thought, and I super appreciate it. I also really like enjoy these type of conversations because I think they're super interesting and fun, and having like a bunch of perspectives on, because like conversations like this, it's really hard to like, there's no right answer on how to do things because like everything is going to come down to who you're engaging with. Like things that work with one girl are not going to work with another girl, and I think that's the other thing is like the problem with like a lot of these like dating advice gurus or like these pickup artist type guys is they like give you a formula as if it works for every woman. Every girl or every guy you interact with is going to be so different. Do not treat them like a system or a formula, because people are like things that like there's things that will work really well with one girl, and the next girl you talk to, it's going to completely turn her off and make her smack you. Like that is how different girls are. And that's like my biggest, well, not my biggest issue. It's one of my big issues with like even like regular pickup artists who aren't like the cringy terrible types. It's like because every pickup artist, it comes down to like a formula type thing, and not like no one is gonna run through your formula perfectly. But yeah, I've also found some people communications or bad schemas on sex in general. Yeah, in a relationship and hookup culture. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like people always be like, oh, hookup culture is bad because it like leads to bad sexual outcomes and stuff. And it's like, dude, this can happen in relationships too if you just have terrible communications. Like people are too scared to talk to their partners about their sex life. And that's like the craziest thing is like, I know people who are in in relationships and been in like, you know, healthy relationships with their partner, but they're too scared to bring up like sexual things to their partner. And I'm like, if you are comfortable and trusting of that person, you should be able to talk to them about your sex life without them being upset that you're like critiquing something or want to change something. Like, I think people get like too emotionally attached to like how well they do in bed. And it's like, there's room for improvement in every part of our lives. And sometimes that also includes the bedroom. Like if you're like, your partner might be more satisfied if you do something a different way or if you try something new. And you shouldn't be scared to have those conversations with your partner ever. I think that's like something we also need to change in like dating discourse and stuff. I think like people are so like harped up on like, oh, like having to be good in bed. And it's like, you're never going to be good on your first try. And like, and again, it also comes to the same thing with like flirting. Things that you do with one girl might not be the things that you do with another girl, because another girl might have a very different like thing that she's into, or like things that turn her on, or things that like work for her. Like every person is going to be different, so don't expect like, oh, well, this like made my ex-girlfriend come all the time, and it's like, well, I'm not your ex-girlfriend, right? Like, oh god, people are so scared to talk about sex, especially even like with partners, and I'm like, I think that's like one of my biggest things that needs to change in like in dating culture and relationship cultures, is just like being able to have open, honest communication with your partner. And this is something that like every person that I've like been with, it's like one of those things that like I'm very like open and honest with my partners about like what I like, what I don't like, and it's like, girls, I'm talking for any of the girls in my stream right now, if there's any girls here, stop being scared to tell your boyfriends or your partners what you like and what feels good, okay? If they cannot find your clitoris, lead them to it. Okay, there should not be anything wrong with trying to get your partner to actually please you. And do not be scared to get your partner and show your partner how to please you. And if you don't know how you want to be pleasured, also learn that about yourself. Learn your own body. Don't expect someone else to know your body better than you. If you don't know your body, no one else is going to know your body. You need to know your body before you go into these situations so that you can also help your partner know your body. These are, big things. And this is a bigger thing for girls for sure. Because guys, it's like, guys, if they want something in bed, a lot of times are more open to telling you, just because obviously that's like our dating and sexual situation is set up in a way that it's like, guys are just more open and about that stuff and usually more dominant in those situations and are willing to like go after what they want. Whereas girls are expected to be more like submissive, more, demure and all that type of stuff. So girls, I think, get a little bit more scared about asking for what they want or like trying to guide a guy to like do something that feels good for them. But it's like, you need to like sometimes take the lead on that. And like, if the guy doesn't know, then like, he's never going to know if you don't say anything or if you don't help him or tell him. So yeah, I don't know. Just be more open and honest with people or like with your partners. Not people. Don't tell everyone about your sexual things, but like with the person you're hooking up with or like sleeping with. Guys are different too. One guy will be immediately interested if a person is brazen and very forward, when another might just be run for the hills. Yeah, 100%. Like, don't, like, I'm talking, obviously, again, I'm talking from the woman's perspective more because obviously I am a woman. But like, for like guys, I'm sure a lot of this stuff applies as well. Guys and girls, ask your partner what the fuck they like and guide them for what you like. Exactly. Also, yeah, talk about how to improve. Don't be a silent moaning machine. And what boundaries everyone has. A lot of people carry sex trauma from previous relationships and expect their partner to read their minds. Yeah. Oh, this is actually a big thing I would love to talk about because it's like people are scared to like set hard boundaries, but like especially when it comes to sexual situations where there is so much openings for like really negative experiences to come out of those, you need to be really open and like say like, this is like a boundary for me, this is something I won't do, this is something I don't like, and be really clear with your partner and say like, if you don't respect this boundary, we're shutting this down. Like, be open with people about like not just like what your likes are, but what your dislikes are and what your boundaries are, things that like, but like again, it's like one of those things that girls are sometimes really scared to put boundaries with the guy they like because they're scared that the guy's going to pull back or that he's going to leave because you won't let him do certain things. If that guy will leave you if you don't let him do certain things, and I know girls have heard this 1,000 times, don't stay with that guy, obviously. But like, I don't know, I think girls, like, I think we need to teach women to be a little bit stronger because I think, it's good that we're having the conversations around like, you need to learn how to respect consent, but then you also need to learn how to like tell people what your consent limits are. I think we're having one side of the conversation really strong of like, what is consent? What does consent mean? How do we ask for consent? How do we get consent? Like, we're having that conversation really strongly, and it's really good that we're having this conversation so much, but we also need to have the other side of the conversation where we're telling people like, you need to know how to communicate your boundaries to somebody else, and like, you can't expect them to read your mind or ask permission for every little thing. Like, you need to also be able to like preemptively say like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like these are my boundaries, right? And yeah, I don't know, just being able to like have that conversations on both ends of the spectrum of like, how do you respect consent and how do you set your consent? Yeah. Obviously I'm a woman, surprise peek if you oh, hi Rams.
Hi.
I work at a hotel. I've joked around with the idea of some people are being really loud in a room and I have to put in 2 weeks notice. Banging on the door and yelling, she's faking it. Jesus. Dang. Wildin'. How's it going, Rams? How's it been?
A lot of GTA.
Nice. Fun.
A lot of hackers.
Oh, good times. We're talking about sex, dating, relationships.
I know, I've been listening.
Oh shit! Have you been listening?
Yes.
I appreciate. Oh yeah, look at my one moderator in here. I think I only have like 2 mods to be fair.
The other one is kind of under the influence, but he's cool.
My literal surprise Pikachu face.
Oh.
Yeah. I know. I was like, wait. To be fair, I think Shuan's also a moderator now, to be fair.
Oh. That might not be a good idea. He trips when he gets power.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I think I took away his moderation powers after that one situation. Anyway. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to wrap up stream for tonight because it's been about 2.5 hours, and I am starting to get tired, and I got papers to write, but I will be back either hopefully tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, hopefully Monday-ish. I got like a busy week up until Tuesday, and then after Tuesday I'm more free, so I'm going to try to stream one more time over the weekend, but if I can't, I don't know. But yeah, it has been super fun. Thank you everyone for hanging out. I appreciate like so many of you guys being here and interacting with like the conversation. I like, oh my god, I appreciate all of you so much. It's so nice, like I love having these conversations, and it's so nice that so many people want to come in and have these conversations with me. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you, Ed, and for rating. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be back soon. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a Discord. That's linked below if you want to join that for updates, for when I go live, for when I'm like announcing topics, or if you want to suggest topics for future streams, you can also do that in my Discord. I have places where you can like talk to me and stuff. So definitely join the Discord because that's like where I'm most active. I have a Twitter linked. I don't use my Twitter. If you want to DM me on there, that's like the only thing you can use it for. I just don't tweet. So if you want to follow that, go crazy, go nuts. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. I will try to be back over the weekend. If not, probably like closer to Tuesday, but then I'll try to stream more from after that. But this weekend is just like super hectic for me. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for hanging out. I will be back. Good night.
Hell yeah.